All right, guys, welcome to the Direct Strike Weekly FFA. We're here with Tox and Bruh. Bruh, what are you known as on Warcraft 3?
I'm known as Bre.
Known as Bruh. Perfect. So some high MMR players here to help cast with the weekly tournament. We're watching from Tox's POV, and we're excited to get this going. So Tox and Bruh, take it away.
We're currently watching the game between probably the two, or some of the two best teams in the tournament. I don't remember the team names, but there are some very high MMR people on both sides.
Yeah, and some very experienced players. It's a bit sad that they're already meeting in the first round, but there are some other good teams in the tournament as well. So I think we'll have some exciting semifinals and finals later on.
And do you see some small differences happening on both sides? We see that Teal build an extra goal, so that means we'll take the mid prio for this wave.
Yeah, it's if you get mid control the entire first 3 waves, you can still get a hero with 5 ghouls open on second position. But if you lose mid control for a little while, then it will be tough.
He lost it on the first one.
Yeah, it is a strat. It's a valid strat to sell one of the ghouls because they're quite low value, just to get the hero out and to get the early push. So
do you think
Teal does that?
Like, are there certain comps where you're more prone to going for a hero on second wave, or is that just depending on like the player's playstyle?
I personally usually always go hero second wave unless I'm playing hunts. Huntresses, I might wait for the third wave, or something like Grunt Shaman, which is just a very solid tier 1 that does decently into everything. Then I also might delay the hero, but usually hero on second wave is my preferred option.
Also, like I like to, it's very specific, but if I'm second position and my first laner wins his prio, so I can get free grunts out, I do like to sometimes do that because it will make sure that you get a lot of go bonus of your own wave and the wave after.
Tox, I'm sorry to interrupt, but can we actually change the stream from 1440 to 1080? It's just a little bit lag spiky.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I also think it won't matter for the disc or the Twitch stream. I think it's being streamed in 1080 or 720, I think. But we do see a small stack. I'm not sure if the Lich will survive, but it's getting a cast off onto the
Nova
ghouls.
on the ghouls, yeah. Very big.
If it will cast, there it is. And also, with the Mountain King, that is all the ghouls almost instantly dead. And
a lot of ghouls again.
Yeah, they do seem to prioritize that unit a lot. And also a lot of heroes countering ghouls. I'm not sure how you feel about the Blood Mage. I agree the cure ability is very strong, especially in like the mid game. But I just feel like the ultimate feels kind of useless.
Yeah, the ultimate got buffed a couple of patches ago, but it's still one of the less powerful ultimates. Yeah. I don't like Blood Mage that much as a hero. Like some people have very high success with him. I try to avoid it because it's just very random where the flame strike hits, and that's his main spell.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I do think he does shine in some games and can clear out a whole backline, but there are also other games where he doesn't feel to do that much.
As a second hero into something like Necros, he's a very good pick, though.
I've seen early Orb of Darkness coming out on Lich. I feel like that's very common, especially on the Lich and Keeper.
Actually, it's common on both these heroes. Naga is also a very good orb carrier.
Yeah.
So let's see if Teal responds with an orb.
He was so close to being able to stack. That is, I think, something I've noticed about the Orb of Darkness is that you can get an insane early game if you get a lot of spawns and you can just stack with your teammates and it just stays alive forever.
Yeah. Yellow a little bit late with the anti-magic
Yeah.
shell cast, so he doesn't quite negate the stomp from the Mountain King,
Yeah.
but still wins
Nonetheless, it's
very
still very
easily.
strong. And a very early tier 2 coming from Orange again. I think this is the same player who rushed for a Obsidian statue last game.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I do
But
definitely
let's see
think,
if it works out.
yeah, there's a lot of value in getting that Obsidian statue. It is extremely strong. Let me see.
Especially if he can stack with the Lich with the Orb of Darkness, then
Yeah.
that will pay off probably. Impale on the second on the
Yeah.
Crypt Lord. But he got
I
the mana pendant. It's a very mana intensive spell, but he prepared for it, so
Yeah.
well done.
I was about to question the pendant as well. Like I know he uses a lot of mana on the spawns, but now we see why he bought it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he getting any snipes. He did get a couple, or he got one at least. Maybe it will be enough. I see Shamans coming out on both sides. There's no match in the Over of Darkness. Teal is just going for more Shamans to try and deal with the spawns coming from the Over of Darkness.
Yeah, but this will stack. Very nice play
Yeah,
from purple.
and this is the power that we see from the Orb of Darkness. Like having that small amount of extra front line just helps you stack. And they're so tanky in the early game, 175 HP for every target, and with the amount of ghouls that we see.
And the stack with the statue and double priest. So
Yeah,
this is very strong.
Very powerful, but he doesn't have any dispel yet, I think. Or now he got it. They upped the dispel for the anti-magic shield. I do
but
believe
the orb goes through the anti-magic shield.
Oh, the orb goes through that, but with I think it's Dark Rager, right? It does not. I think
there's a difference. I think orb spells are like orb attacks or physical damage, and the dark arrow is counted as a spell, so that's why it doesn't go through.
I see. But we do see an end coming to the stack here. They're in tower range, so it's only a matter of time.
But huge XP for the Lich.
Yeah, that is a lot of power.
And she might not die in time for spawn of her wave.
I think this is kind of like a double-edged sword. They're getting a lot of damage, and they might actually be able to get the tower here. This is kind of an early tower compared to last game.
Very early, yeah.
It fell at 13 minutes. I mean, do you see second gold mines coming out from purple, and maybe the others are catching up as well?
Yep, always a good time to get a second gold mine when you get the tower.
And we did see an Over of Darkness going onto the Naga. It's a little late, and it's not going to survive, but we do see second gold mine coming onto red. And now they're almost hitting the fortress already.
Who won the first match of the series?
The left team, East team, I think.
Yeah. Is that Gorik's team? Because I forgot who, like, what players were on
Gorik's team,
what side.
I think it was Gorik's team. Yeah, I don't think they switched sides.
Yeah. Sides shouldn't really matter. I've been told that there are some heroes like Tinker, where there are different spawns on the box, the factory.
Yeah.
But
I think it might just be my confirmation bias, but I feel like red side has a little bit of an edge when it comes to the early mid control.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well. I'm not sure if I'm just crazy, but I've noticed that as well.
Yeah, they tend to get it more easily in my experience.
Yeah, that is also my it's totally something that I just feel I don't have anything backing it up, but I've noticed that as well.
Yeah,
I do see some spellbreakers coming on against the Huntress matchup.
It's a bit early maybe because the Huntresses just melt the Spellbreakers.
Yeah.
But later on against the Shamans, Spellbreakers are very nice to steal the Bloodlust.
Yeah. I definitely feel like Spellbreakers are a unit that is extremely strong if you're already winning. But if you're behind, they can feel so squishy and they don't really do much. I do see a couple of gargoyles coming out, maybe trying to force some anti-air, but with the amount of range heroes, they're not doing that much.
What's nice about air units into orb is that they can take aggro and then prevent skeletons from spawning.
Yeah.
But since purple already has his own Gargs, they just negate that at the moment.
It's currently looking very one-sided. I'm just going to check for gold mines, and they're still on a single gold mine. So that means that the left side is actually getting 20 more gold per minute
Yeah.
or per 20 seconds, which in the early game can stack up very quickly, in my opinion.
Usually, if you're losing this early, I think at least around 12 minutes, you want to get that second mine.
Yeah. I also like we saw the last game. Like you can survive a long time, especially in the early game, just having the fortress hitting waves
Yeah. What I
without
like what
taking
Orange
too
is
much
doing.
damage. Yeah.
What I like what Orange is doing is that he's going into damage now. Once you get the tower, and he had a lot of healing at the beginning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
once you
that's
get the tower, it's important that you get some DPS to prevent stacks from the opponents.
Yeah, and we do see the Lich building back to try and maybe stack with the Orb of Darkness.
Yeah.
So trying to do some damage at the tower and not just feeding your units.
Heal could do the same. If he would build back, it might be better for a stack, and he would have the assistance of the base.
Yep.
In his first fight.
Yeah. Like there, I definitely think that like, there is a lot of like microing that you can do with unit position, especially like in the very early game. Because if you can get in range of the fortress, it is going to melt these units so quickly.
Yeah.
And it is more manageable when you don't have a full army. But we do see, like it's still a very close game, but this Lich are just melting these goals.
Yeah, Lich is getting closer to level 6 very quickly.
Oh. And even level 5 against schools, it's almost a one-shot with the ability. I do see a lot of riflemen coming out to deal with these gargoyles from Yedo.
It's a very good counter, and he's already preparing for the Banshees with his Spellbreakers.
Yeah.
So he has a front line in the late game, that's good.
I think the hero XP on both sides is kind of even. There's a slight lead to the west side because they've had more stacks.
Yeah, especially on purple, I think.
Yeah.
His Lich is powerhouse at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, now we see the Bloodlust and the Spellbreaker stealing it. It's not quite as strong yet because red doesn't have a lot of units that can actually use the Bloodlust. But as soon as he gets those, it can be very strong.
The power of Bloodlust, like it is so much extra attack speed that your units are getting. It can increase the power of your army by a lot.
Especially with the Lich that has Dark Orb. You want her to be machine gunning down the enemy ghouls.
Seeing tanks coming out from purple to try and deal with the ghoul or guy ghouls. There's a lot of tier 2 air in this game, so I don't mind the tank this early.
No, it's a very good option. You don't want to get too many at the start probably because you're pushing, and they're nice to take the aggro from the gargoyles, but it's probably better to start with some air DPS now once you're tier 3.
I'm not sure how much you've played lately, but there's a guy in the ladder. I think he's about 2k. I think he's got YY or something like that. A guy who's, I think he's known for rushing gold mines. And I actually played. Oh,
I've played with him once, I think.
Yeah. I played with him today, and I was doubting his strategy so much. But he went 4 mines and went insta tier 3, and he started spamming siege engines. And it sounds super bad, but he just completely won the game for us.
Yeah, it can happen. It's a very high risk, high reward strategy because there are certain units like raiders, for example, that just counter siege engines very hard. But if it works out very well usually.
Yeah. You definitely look a little stupid if the strat doesn't work out and you just lose at 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But back to this game, it's still kind of even. Like, this looks very similar to the first game. Where,
Not quite as back and forth, but the
Yeah.
right side is holding on for sure.
But also the first game, it wasn't even that much back and forth in the early game. It was just the west side just pushing down the east, and then the east getting a single stack, and then the game just turning around and then doing another 180 later on.
Yeah, you're right.
But also we see a Frostworm coming out. I know it's a decent unit, but I actually don't think it's that strong in the early game on this until you get a couple.
Yeah. We want to see yellow pushing tier 3 now because he has raiders and banshees, and
Yeah.
purple has worms,
Yeah.
and
Getting
orange also
possessed.
has worms. So we should get some nice possesses later on.
Yeah. That is one of my favorite combos in the game, is having banshees and crypt fiends or raiders.
Yeah,
It can demolish an army so quickly.
definitely.
And there isn't, like, sure, there's counterplay, but it is so hard to play around it. Especially with, like, air units. Like, if you're forced to only go, like, destroyers or something like that. Or maybe hippogriff riders. It just limits what options you have if you cannot go into worms or chimeras.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how red will be doing here, because last wave they almost stacked with teal already, and the same
Yeah.
thing seems to be happening here. It's very close to a stack.
Yeah, and we also see a second hero coming off blue before the ditch got level 6, because he was very close, but it is a very unfortunate ultimate. Not hitting a
Yeah.
lot. That is the downside of the
That can
ditch.
happen.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate.
Teal,
also-
sorry?
I'm surprised about the early Frostworm, because in this, I thought it was Dark Ranger. Never mind. I thought it was. It's
Yeah.
hard. Like, I don't play with any skins on, and I don't really know the models of all the units yet. Like, with the skins.
Yeah, that can happen. That's
Yeah.
fine. No, there's the possess. A little bit late, but
Yeah.
still a worm.
Do you know if the Ditch Ultimate, if it stacks, if you have two different casts at the same time?
On top of each other?
Yeah.
I do not know, to be honest. I would always hope that they target different different positions,
Yeah,
because it's such a strong ultimate.
Yeah. It
But
really
I
is.
do not know if they stack, actually.
But this is a lot of pressure coming off the west side.
Yeah.
Even
Red,
under the tower, they're clearing most of the wave.
yeah. I think the right team maybe missed a couple of chances to stack. If teal would have built in front, and red maybe could have made a few more crypt fiends with burrow. Burrow is actually very underrated when it comes to stacking, because the crypt fiends, they just stop dying. They just
Yeah.
burrow and they survive for a very long time. And right now it's looking quite rough, but mountain giants are also a very strong unit to just defend and slow down fights.
Also super tanky.
Yeah. When you're defending and you want to create a stack, you usually want to build units that slow down fights. If you have necros, they're great because of the skeletons, but also because of cripple. Cripple just, as the spell says, it just cripples the units and slows down the
Makes
fight.
them almost useless. So I
And
was
the
actually,
tornado. Ooh,
I was about to
tornado
ask you,
kills you.
how do you feel about Tornado? Because I feel like it helps the enemy stack.
It's very difficult to use, but
Yeah.
on your own, if you're on your own side of the map, it can be very powerful.
Yeah.
To just slow down a fight, always knock up a couple of units. I think it's usually it's tough to make like a general call when it's best to use. It's very situational.
But we see a very nice ultimate coming off the Blood Mage, but it's slightly not enough.
Not quite enough. Yeah.
And there's not as much itemization in this game. Like, there is like a Pendant of Mana, but there's not any early Legion of Doom or anything like we saw in the last game.
I don't think there's no heroes that definitely need itemization. The only one that could definitely get some items. I mean, Crypt Lord can get some items, an orb and some belts to combat air,
Yeah.
but blue doesn't have any air, to be honest. But the Mountain King from orange is definitely a very strong hero that scales well with items.
Yeah.
You could consider a few belts and an orb
And also,
and some
like,
armor on him.
he only has a couple of spellbreakers, and so does blue. So he is getting some. Oh wait, he has shamans of himself. But yeah, you just see the mountain giants getting
Yeah.
demolished by the
almost-
spellbreakers and huntresses.
Tornado not quite enough. But yeah, blue almost cleared 2 waves there by himself. He's
Yeah.
very strong.
I'm not sure how you feel, but I just feel like this game, it just feels like it's a hero diff. Like, I see some very strong heroes on the west side, and I just
That's
don't
actually, yeah, it's a good
see
point.
the blood mage or wait, who was the other? Like the sea witch doing that much, or even like the crypt lord. Like, they're
Yeah, I
solid
agree.
heroes, but they are not shining as much as like these liches are. Like, these liches feels like they're just winning the fights on their own. And we
Crypt Lord
saw
can be
the
very strong, but
yeah.
yeah, most heroes are definitely favored on the left side.
See another pendant of mana coming out to make sure he has enough mana for his ultimate. It's a very short cooldown, so if you do get a stack, you will be able to cast it multiple times.
Yeah. And now in the late game, the Impale actually has a lot of value.
Yeah.
But
Just
also
like,
some health on the Crypt Lord is usually quite nice to stack with his armor, because he gets natural armor from... I mean, he only skilled 1 point into armor yet, but so far, but...
But instead of buying the pendant of mana, do you think it would have been a better choice to just turn off the beetles?
Yes,
amount
in
of
this case,
spell
that's a
breakers?
very good point. Yeah, the breakers just steal the beetles anyways.
Yeah, he
And
has
this
these,
tornado is very good. This is how you want to use it. Just before you kill the previous wave,
yeah.
you use tornado, but let's see if it's enough. It might not be enough, but this is a very good use of tornado.
Also, he had also missed, but a Torn Chieftain getting the movement speed hours to be able to maybe and we do see Possess coming out. A super strong counter to almost any unit. And the wave is almost gone.
Yeah.
Like, it is. This Lich and the Banshees are doing so much work against the Torrents and the rest of his army.
Yep. Only the Spellbreakers survive. And
Yeah.
a few torrents. We see a stasis trap. It is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it can be very powerful with the stun. But usually you want to turn the stasis traps off because they just make the opponent army stack more.
But it is, like, they're still holding out. Like, it is not over. Like, we thought the other game, like the first game we watched, was over, and it turned multiple times. And we thought both teams just had it in the bag, but they both turned it around. So
I
even
mean,
though
this is still anyone's game. It's looking rough for the right side, but I mean, they've been pushed in for the entirety of the game, and they're still alive. So just one stack, and everything can change.
Yeah. And
Too bad we can't see their roles. It would be nice to see their roles just to see what options they have.
Is this the game?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Shuts it down.
Out of nowhere.
I think that was a 2-0.
That's
right?
a 2-0.
Yeah.
2 very strong teams, but would have liked to see a third game, but we'll have some other nice matches coming up.
That was a very good series to watch. Some very strong players as well.
Yeah.
I'm just going to look at the bracket.
Okay, I'm going to update the bracket. So that was... Let's see.
Oh, it's already updated. It's Sons of Grim Oh wait, no, they're just. I'm actually not sure. Give me a sec.
Okay,
That
the Great
was.
Wall moving forward against the Sons of Graymere, and we will. Oh, thanks for the follow. Great Wall will add to. Okay, the brackets are updated. I think we should go with the artistic aspects of Potato, and they are just feeding because they've been waiting.
Yeah.
So let's see if we can get their game set up and join them.
Pumonkey, I just want to make sure. Are we watching both semifinals or?
I think that's the
Because-
plan. I think we want to watch both.
Okay,
Yeah.
because then we do have to tell the Sons of Grimnir and the Great Wall to delay their game till after this series. If we decide to watch artistic aspects of Potato against they're just feeding.
Yeah, that sounds good. I will.
Perfect.
I'm actually very excited for this match because 2 of the players on They Are Just Feeding are my ex-teammates. I
Oh,
played with them in the last tournament, and they're actually very good players. I'm very excited to see them and to
and
cast
wait,
them.
what team? What team was that on? Or wait, what team were your previous teammates playing on this time?
Oh, they're playing on what they're called. They Are Just Feeding. That's the team name. Yeah. And in the last tournament, I think we got 3rd place, maybe 4th place. And we were all quite new players back then, but now they've improved a lot.
Pumonkey?
Yep.
We could also just watch one side of the semifinals and then we can watch the finals. So we just do like 2 more BO3s.
We can do that
Or
as
what
well.
do you think? I do think it makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, of course, we're not getting as much screen time, but
That's fine.
I do think it will.
Brad and Tox, which series do you guys want to watch? It's completely up to you guys. So we'll figure out.
I've heard from some credible sources that the bottom bracket match is supposed to be some very strong players on both sides. So I think
yeah, both matches have very strong players.
Yeah.
But we already saw one of the teams of the top matchup, so I
Yeah.
would be
I agree.
inclined to
I
watch
feel
the
we
other
should
one.
go to the lower bracket here and watch the game between artistic aspects of Potato and they're just feeding. But Pooh, I was thinking, can you just message Sons of Grimnir and the Great Wall that they are free to start the game as well?
I can do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you so
so
much.
let's try and get in that game. If those teams
Yeah,
are listening to
I'm
us, then we would
looking
love to
forward.
watch.
And if one series ends, or if the series ends before the other one, we can always still hop into the last game of the other series, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for the
That is
follow,
true.
Doug Dugalik. Appreciate that.
Yeah, right now
The
it's
stream, the games have a delay, right? So
they do, but I don't
Okay.
think it's that much. I think it's 100 seconds.
okay, but we've been mostly showing the fights anyways, so
Yeah.
I don't think there's a lot of potential stream sniping.
Yeah, I don't think that is going to be like the main issue of this game, especially the way
Yeah.
we are doing it.
I agree.
Actually, if it wasn't like if the picks weren't bugged, I actually would have liked to look at their options more. But
Yeah,
since
same.
we can only see one side, it's very limited to what we can actually show on the stream. Like the only information we can see is like army composition and the amount of gold mines. So we don't get that much more information than looking at the bases.
And we also can't see the drafts themselves, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is also
Uh,
bugged. So we
That's
can
sad.
also can't see like the hero options. It would have been very cool to see what they chose from. But yeah, we are currently just waiting. They're probably just setting up the derby. I'm not sure when they finish the game. I just want to make sure that they are not waiting for us. Give me a sec. But I'm surprised if all the teams are done with their first bracket game, because this was a 2-0, and the games weren't that long. Like the first was kind of.
Yeah, every matchup was a 2-0, to be honest.
Oh wow, I did
Yeah.
not check that. But that might also mean that we're going to have some very close games in the semi and in the final.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Would
I'm
be
looking
exciting.
at the player list of if I can find it. Okay, here it is.
Tox, can you restream?
Yeah, but I'm currently waiting for the game to start.
That's okay. Are
I
you
don't-
watching via Flow or via the game?
I'm trying to watch via Flow because Frank told me there's some bugs about like hero abilities if you do join the lobby. So I just wanted to make sure we didn't mess something up during the game because of that.
That's a good point. I think if we join the lobby, then we would actually be able to see the picks of both sides.
Oh, that would actually be kind of nice.
I think that was the case the last time at the last tournament, because
Yep.
there were also streams of the tournament matches, and it was possible to see both picks.
Yeah. Well, we can try that. If I can try and message Aldous.
I think he's about to start.
Yeah.
Maybe for the next game.
Yeah.
So are we able to watch it, Tox? Are you able to get it?
Well, we can definitely watch it if they start, and we can also watch it if they later start and let us into the lobby.
Perfect.
We could make a prediction, put up a prediction.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. We are masters at that over at the Risk Reforged channel. Or actually, are we? Pooh? Do you know how to set up a prediction on
We're
Twitch?
working on it. We're working
Yeah,
on it.
perfect.
Balio says, if you win the tour, are we going to have a winner's interview and some insight on what you're going to spend your new fortune on?
I mean, $30 is not nothing.
Oh, I see
Well,
the
actually,
lobby.
it's $10
Or
per
I see the
person.
game. Okay, there is a 3-minute delay, so we just have to wait for that. But there are some very strong players. I do recognize some names. I recognize Alice. I think he's a streamer, right?
Yes, he streams on Twitch
Yeah,
sometimes.
he streams on Twitch. Yeah, I've seen him in on ladder as well.
Yep. Alice and IMT Never are my two ex-teammates.
I see.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
They seem to be to know what they're doing.
they're definitely solid players. But the other side, the other players are good as well. I think Art, if I'm not mistaken, is Michelangelo. Maybe he changed his name. I'm not sure. I thought it was Michelangelo, and he's, I think, a Legion TD player usually. But he's also very good at direct strike.
I've actually also played Legion TD, not on WF3 Champions, but I did play it on just Battle.net. I'm not sure how the WF3 Champion players think about it, but I thought it was fun with the rank system on there.
Yeah, last time I played Legion TD was like 6 years ago. So, not my game anymore. I'm a direct strike player now.
Yeah. So we only have a minute left of waiting time, and you can get into the game.
Guys, in the meantime, if you have direct strike memes, send them to us. We want to put them on the while we wait section. We love good memes, so you can send them in the direct strike chat. I'll pick them up, or you can send them to me, Poo Monkey on Discord.
Also, I just want to point out I am not watching the stream chat at all, so I'm not sure if there have been any questions. But if anyone
Same.
had any questions regarding the games or regarding the stream in general, or even Risk, just let us know, and I'll probably pull up the chat on a different screen.
Yeah, I see Doug Kulak said that if we watch in the lobby, then it's easier for stream sniping. But then we would probably have to put up a stream delay then.
Yeah, but there's... Oh, wait, okay, so there's not a delay if you watch through the lobby?
Exactly.
Yeah. I do think, like, there should be... like, we should definitely think of that as a... as, like, something that could happen. But we've been streaming Risk tournaments for a very long time, and there is a lot of information on the stream, and we haven't really had any issues. So we do give like the benefit of the doubt to the players, and hope that people respect the tournament.
I would hope so
of course,
too.
if it is a problem, we definitely need to put up some we just need to make sure like it doesn't happen and impact the games. Okay, but I just put up the game. It will be a minute while they do the draft because we are not able to see that.
Phalo, yeah. People in DS would never snipe. That's why you started putting up a delay.
I thought that was very sad, and I've actually noticed it as well because I was playing against, I think it was Pika Penguin, and I had a teammate who was just blatantly saying what he was building, and I think it's just poor sportsmanship, especially for like a game like Warcraft. I'm not trying to shame Warcraft, but like it's a fun game. It's not life or death. You can just have fun playing this.
But it's definitely reportable. So if there's like a good chance that someone is stream sniping, or if they're doing it blatantly, then for sure go report them. That goes to all the players. It's against the rules.
But I'm very excited for this matchup as well. We had just had a banger game of I forgot the team names, but it was a very good game to watch. Super back and forth, and a very good showcase of the strengths of the players. And definitely some names that we recognize in this match as well.
I think all 6 players are experienced players that have been playing DS for at least half a year. So this should be a very nice matchup.
In the high elo of Direct Strike, are there certain players that are known for some like unorthodox strats, or is it very I'm going to use the word basic. Like, is there like one certain way that all high elo Direct Strike players play, or is it dependent on playstyle?
I think in general it's quite basic, as you say. There are strats that are just very high risk, high reward, and some players go for them more than others. I think Phalo is someone who does like to try out some other strats. He's someone like in the last game we saw or 2 games ago, I think we saw the early aura on the Tauren Chieftain, right? And I've seen Phalo do something like that with success, but in a different scenario where he had ghouls and he was pushing. So yeah, but in general, I don't think there are that many like actual viable alternative strategies in high elo.
I do want to point out that we did see Blue skipping the first turn. I actually think there's like some merit to doing that because it does hide what options that you have for your tier 1.
Yeah, there is merit to it. It's especially with ghouls and hunts, it used to be meta to do it, right? But then ghouls got buffed, so usually players with ghouls build ghouls early on because they just win every matchup level 1 on the first wave.
And also, I was just talking about hiding your comp, but here we see Yedo going for a hero on the wave 1, and he chose a Brewmaster, which I think is a decent option against ghouls. As long as Orange doesn't have Banshees.
Exactly. But Panda is a very, very solid hero. You can blind pick him anytime, most likely.
Yeah, I agree. It's
what counters him.
One of my one. And now we see Blue coming out with his ghouls and a Dreadlord. I think it's a very strong combo because of the high damage numbers from the ghouls. And also just because Dreadlord is a very strong hero later on.
But he's still losing this time.
I'm so surprised about the damage coming out from these grunts. He barely did any damage to these.
But I'm not sure.
And a 6 start.
I think Red might have spent so much gold that he can't get a hero on the 3rd wave. Maybe. I'm not quite sure.
Oh, that is going to delay him a bit, if that's the case.
And that's always quite a bit sad
I-
against ghouls because ghouls just give so much
Yeah.
XP.
Yeah, I don't think he will be able to get it. I think you're right about it. And we do see a Dark Ranger coming out,
A very strong hero
which
early
is
game.
a very strong hero. If you can get the spawns going.
Yep. Grunt's definitely one of the better Q units
Yeah.
you can have into Dark
Yeah.
Ranger. Probably the best.
I know it's a super small thing, but I actually think it could have toggled off the spawn and it might have hit the tower ring. Or I'm not
Yep.
even sure if you can toggle it off.
You can. You can. You
If-
used to not be able
Oh.
to, but they changed they fixed it.
Oh.
But we have another Dreadlord Ghoul combo, which is just super oppressive if it gets going.
Yeah, when I
And-
first started playing the game, this was like my dream combo. Like,
Yeah.
if I could get ghouls and a Dreadlord, I was just smiling.
And it doesn't
I
seem
just-
that there are a lot of shamans on the right side, so this is
Yeah.
actually looking very good for the left team.
Yeah, they might have a huge problem with his ghouls later on. And this guy has to build a Dryad just to counter the Shaman, and he still
Yeah.
doesn't have a hero out. And he's losing the fight now, while this Dreadnought is just getting a ton of XP.
Yep. In a situation like this, it is sometimes even viable to get a second mine early. In Blue's position, for example, he might want to wait to see what hero Red gets, but he has a very dominant matchup with ghouls into Grunt,
Dryad and
Dryad.
Grunt. Yeah, I actually agree with that. If I'm hard winning my lane and I feel like I can get away with getting a second mine, I do think it's a very strong thing to go for.
Yep.
And we do see an early Shadow Hunter. I'm not sure what his other options were, but I have very split. I actually think it's decent against Dark Ranger because it helps your units stay alive. But it doesn't really offer that much besides that in the early game.
That's true. What I like is that Teal is already building back because Dark Ranger is always nice to stack with.
Yeah.
And we see early Necros on yellow, which is probably his best options into the ghouls.
Yeah. But he was expecting this, so he had already built a couple of Spirit Walkers.
Yep.
Or at least
Very
he
good
built the
play by
Spirit Walkers
Orange.
for DPS. But yeah, it's a very nice counter. Making sure he doesn't get overwhelmed by all of the spawns.
And still no hero for Red.
Yeah, I think he is struggling hard against these ghouls with the Dreadnought. I think he's scared of going for hero because he want to try and like fight from mid pressure, but it is hard in this matchup.
Yep, definitely.
I think at some point you just have to cut your losses and go for the hero. Maybe you can get some kind of counter for ghouls.
Yeah, but
I
even
don't
if you
think-
get an AoE hero in this case, the ghouls will most likely just
Yeah.
heal up the damage until you get a
Yeah.
second cast off. So this is a very rough spot.
Yeah.
But
It
we
is
see the Dark
very,
Ranger farming some ghouls. This is really nice.
Yeah.
So she
He
gets
is
some early
lucky
skeletons.
and might be able to set up a small stack here.
Yeah.
And a small stack can go a long way with the Necros coming in
And
from Yellow.
The Talons are actually a really nice addition here to reduce the armor of the Grunts and
Yeah.
to force the Shamans to use their Dispel on their own units so the skeletons live longer.
But it's so slightly not enough to stack. It was very close. We do
Ooh, a
see an
Fairy
early
Dragon.
Unholy Frenzy and a Fairy Dragon, so now we have to check if Orange is going to micro his stuff.
Yeah, and he can't kill it. The Fairy Dragon will definitely stack into the next wave.
Yeah.
That's a very nice play by Yellow.
Yeah, having an extra Fairy Dragon can be very impressive for the West Side team. Because having that Fairy just makes it so that you, like, even if you do tuck all your stuff off, it's still going to prevent some kind of like strength in your comp.
Yep, definitely.
But he does have an answer for them.
He did build Fiends, yeah. We see a Dreadlord for red. It's a little bit underleveled, but it's such a strong hero.
Yeah. I might sound like the biggest noob here, but do Griff Fiends even hit air units?
Only with web. They have
so
to
they have to
web
whip
them.
them before they can hit
Yep.
them. Yeah,
And the problem is webbed units, and I think especially fairy dragons when they are in mana flare, they have low priority, so they don't get attacked. They don't get attacked that fast. So it is a counter somewhat, but not the best counter. But I think in Blue's situation, it is probably the best counter at the moment, or like the best option to deal with a fairy dragon. It should be Orange's job to deal with the fairy dragon for the next wave if possible.
I'm just going to look at his comp. Yeah, he got a couple of archers, making sure he
and
has.
Hippo.
Yeah, and
Hippo's
a hippo
very
rider.
nice.
Yeah.
Actually, the Hippo Archer combination also very strong.
Yeah.
It's always a bit sad if you have
combine.
Exactly. Yeah, it's always a bit sad if you have to reveal both the Hippo and the Archer early on, because then it's not a surprise if you get tier 3, but it's still a very strong combo.
I think there's a small XP lead on the west side on their heroes. Do you know if you gain XP off the, let's say, like Necro spawns? Like if you...
You do, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of potential XP that can go to the west side.
Definitely. Yep. And Dreadlord is a hero that you don't want him to hit level 6.
Yeah.
Like, you want to
Once
delay that level 6.
It's level 6. He is such a menace.
Definitely. And there are 2 Dreadlords on the left side.
Yeah, you're gonna have a super strong comp, and as soon as the Dreadlord hits level 6, it can just turn a fight over.
Yeah.
By
in this spot, right team could try to push second mines, because they're most likely going to lose tower anyways, and just build for late game. I mean, Teal has some chance to stack here. Maybe that's the last straw, but if Teal doesn't stack here, they will lose the tower.
Yeah, I'm actually slightly surprised the west side hasn't opted into the second mine here. I feel like they're all winning their matchups quite... Like, doesn't seem like that big of a struggle for them in these fights.
Yeah.
Even when there's like getting cleared under the tower.
Sometimes, not in this case because left side is just way too strong, but sometimes it can also be good. Like it can be bad for your team if you're too strong, because then the second player has to fight under tower. So it can be very beneficial sometimes to push an early second mine, just so you're not too strong and you leave some units for the next player.
I definitely think that's a valid thing. Yeah. But we are seeing this tower getting lower and lower every single wave, and it might even fall here. And it fell. And do we see an instant second mine from all of the players except for Orange? He might be saving up for tier 3. Yeah, we see a tier 3 coming out instantly as well.
Always good to stagger that. You never want to mine and tier 3, or you usually don't want to mine and tier 3 on the same wave.
Yeah. But I understand it's good that they got their second mine after the base fall, but I feel like now I don't feel like there's a difference between getting the mine now than there were 4 minutes ago, maybe. I feel they could have gotten a little more income off that, and I still think the same thing would have happened where the tower would have fell.
I agree, but it's definitely the safe play to do it this way, right?
Yeah.
It's just standard procedure. Get the mine on the second when you kill the tower. Get the second mine when you kill the tower.
Yeah.
And
I feel like so many plays, dude, and it's just it. Actually, I feel like it was like perfect just watching their like lanes just getting the mine instantly after hitting the or finishing the second tower or like first tower.
Ooh, Dark Ranger very close to stacking. So right team is definitely doing the right things. Necro's tier 3 upgrade for yellow.
Yep.
And Orange only has the walkers into the Necros, which as we saw last game, they can be overwhelmed.
Yeah. I do want to point out, so far we've seen both Necros and Priests, which are 2 very strong buffs for tier 3 units. So I think those Hippo Riders are actually going to be quite strong from Yellow. If he can get both the Inner Fire and the Unholy Frenzy, they can do a lot of damage, and they're also super tanky.
That's very true, yeah.
And even though you might be losing on the ground, if you can get a strong like air fleet, I'm not sure what to call it, like if you can win the air battle, it can also turn the game totally around if you can start stacking that way.
Yeah. And here we still see the power of Dryads a little bit. The magic damage units always walking past the remaining wave of red. And it always gives the Dark Ranger a few free skeletons, which is really nice.
Yeah. I, as a player, actually dislike playing Dryads, but also just despise playing against them because of the fact that they're immune to magic.
Yeah.
It makes it super awkward if you're let's say you're winning your lane, like even if you're winning your lane but you lost all of your like physical damage and your units are just running past.
Yeah.
It can feel very awkward. But also this Shadow Hunt is getting closer to level 6. Do you see that some abilities are not toggled off, but now they are? And the crows took a little bit amount of damage, but the west side is just getting closer to level 6 with these powerhouses of heroes.
Yeah, it's getting very dicey. If both these heroes hit level 6, it might there are scenarios where this is just a game over push. If they stack and together with both level 6s, it can be a game over very quickly.
Yeah. We did see that Red got a super late Dreadnought as well. So it can be hard for him to reach the level 6 point as well. We actually see the level 6 on the Shadow Hunter with a full stack.
Ooh, yeah,
hitting the base here.
he didn't turn off the healing wave,
Oh,
so he has no mana.
that is unfortunate. It could have been. Actually, I
Could
don't
have been
think it
huge.
was. Yeah, it could have been huge. But it's still fine to get the healing. Like the healing is also super strong. Like he is probably clearing most of this, even under tower.
Yep.
And he might wait. This might actually turn into an old with purple's wave if he doesn't heal.
Yeah,
Oh,
purple.
that is
He doesn't have
unfortunate.
a hero spawn. The hero
Yeah.
survived, so purple is without a hero now.
Oh yeah, I did not even realize that was his own hero. That was his own Shadow Hunter.
But he's still strong enough to kill the remains of Teal's army. But that's always
It is
very
going to be
scary if
fighting
your
rough.
hero survives and your army doesn't have a hero. It's always very scary.
Yeah, but I am looking at orange comp here. Do you think with the mountain giants, and it doesn't really seem to have a good answer for the necros, do you ever just sell your ghouls to prevent the spawns and just get more mountain giants?
Yes, for sure. In the late game, that's a very good thing to do sometimes. I think they're strong enough, and with the Dreadlord aura, you definitely want to keep your ghouls as long as possible. But in the super late game, you should probably sell those ghouls.
And
If
now
you
we
see
see
that
the ultimate coming out from
just
blue or from orange
strong.
here. And it's going to stack with blue's wave. His hero is actually only level 4. The lowest level on the west side. But it is still a big push coming in here. And even under tower, this is a hard army to beat.
Yep, but Teal is also getting some mountain giants now, so he is doing the right things to try to create a stack. But it's just too little at the moment, too little too late. Maybe when his Dark Ranger hits level 5 and he gets those big skeletons, maybe that's the point where he can stack.
Yeah, it is definitely looking slightly rough from the east side. But as we've seen in previous games, even though that might seem slightly grim, there can always come a comeback. But we see a huge ultimate coming off the Shadow Hunter.
Very
Putting
nice.
all
Very,
the
very
Yellow's
nice.
units in front.
And just out of range of the base. So
Yeah,
the base
that
didn't
was
hit
a
him.
super nice range. Timing he did there. Which means
This
that
should
he
be
will secure most of Yellow's army here.
Yeah. I would like to see. Can you show what Orange's
Yeah.
tier 3 big air unit is? Oh, Wind Riders. Okay.
Wind
If he would have
Riders.
had some magic damage, it would be really nice into the like Griffins, Necros, Worms. Griffins, not Necros. Griffins, Worms, or Kims, Chimeras could be really nice into Yellow's army, but he has Wind Riders, which you're not even though it's draft, you can't always choose your units.
Yeah, I understand. Like it's valuable to get an orb on a hero, but I am not a huge fan of like getting an orb on a hero that requires a lot of XP because I just want to try. Like if I was in his situation, I would like it's probably wrong, but I would just try to leech off as much XP as possible.
Yeah.
Just to try and get the level 6.
It always depends on how heavily committed your opponent is to air already, because if there's only a few air units, having an orb can actually make your hero stay alive for longer because he stays in the back line and he
Oh,
doesn't run to the front line.
yeah, that is also a good point.
So that can be very good, and blue only has one air unit at the moment.
Yeah.
What I would definitely not do is get an Orb of Corruption when you're so far behind, and I think an Orb of Fire is always the safe play. Just get like the Panda has Orb of Fire. It's cheaper and does the same thing.
Yeah, it does the job. I don't think this is the wave where Shadowhunt's ultimate is available. It does have a round cooldown. So, but it's still a small stack. And if it stays alive long enough, it might get its ultimate back up.
Maybe, yeah. And we have a Dreadlord here who didn't cast yet.
Yeah.
This could be it. Never mind. The Shadowhunter doesn't have ult, so.
Yeah. It doesn't have ult yet. I think it's first next round. But a lot of bears coming out from red here. He is trying to push back. I actually think if you get enough bears, they can be a very good stacking unit, because if you have enough and they don't die off, you can just abuse the healing.
Bears are very strong. They offer a lot for their gold that they cost.
But this is some damage getting on. He doesn't have the acid spit on the chimeras.
Yep.
But it's still a ton of damage getting onto the base here. It's down
and
at
the Dark Ranger
800
dies
HP.
instantly. The Dark Ranger dies instantly. It's looking dire. With the spit, with the spit, it might have already been game over.
Yeah, it does add a ton of damage, but it's a hard choice to make, because if it doesn't end the game, it's just some gold that you've wasted. They could have spent on a stronger army. And in these situations where it's very close, it's hard to see if you are actually going to get the proc off.
Yep, that's very true.
And we see a huge ultimate coming off the Shadowhunter.
Yep, we see yellow going into air, which is very important against the Shadowhunter.
Yeah.
So you can kill him quickly, but
But also another thing is that orange actually, or I think it's purple did actually hide his destroyers for a little while, which is a very nice counter for the Necros.
And we just saw the stun on the Panda, very good from orange. The Panda couldn't ult.
Oh,
very nice play from the Farseer.
Nice micro coming off. And we see the Infernal just running havoc into Red's army, taking out most of the back 9.
This looks like it's GG. Very good game.
If he's able to, I think they'll be able to get it here.
It comes down to a bit of luck. The heroes are very strong on the left side with the ghouls.
Yeah. I agree. It was definitely a good showcase of the hero strengths on the left side. But overall,
also played very well by the left team. They did a very solid job.
Okay, and I have a game name here, if I can get it to work. And we'll be joining the... I have not used Story 3 Champions custom games before, so I'm not sure how to join the spectator, the observer role.
You need to know what the game name is.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah. But that was such a good game. I feel like
Yeah.
the West side just had pressure from the start and just never did go off the wheel. It just kept fighting over more and more. It
They did a
just
very good
didn't
job, yeah.
give a single, like there wasn't a single time where I felt like the East were really fighting back. Like they couldn't get a good grip on the game. It
They
was a
played it
very tough.
safe and very well. They
Yeah.
had nice tier 3 transitions and just overall solid gameplay.
And we
There
are.
was no point where the game was in danger of turning. Are you trying to join the lobby or?
Yeah, I am in the lobby. They are
Okay,
just.
nice. Are we putting a delay on the stream or what's the plan?
I don't think we're putting the day on stream. I think we will assume that both teams are honorable and don't abuse the stream snipe.
Okay. I mean, we can quickly go over the picks at the start and then maybe not look at them too much. But I think it should be fine.
Okay. And then talks whenever you're ready, just restream.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the game to start,
Yep.
so I can share my Warcraft screen. Or maybe I can actually. I don't think I can do it now. But game just started, so I will, in a sec, start streaming the screen. And I actually think they switch sides in this game. I think Art and his team were on the west side last game, right?
No, I think it was
Oh.
Aless team on the west side.
Never mind.
Oh no, you're right. Yeah, you're right. It was Art on the west side.
Okay. So if we go to the different players, can we see the options? Is that how this works? Oh, I still think it's bugged doing the pickings.
Yeah, looks like it. But maybe we
But
see
if
the
we can,
draft afterwards.
yeah, we do on the right side at least, but not on the left side, it seems.
Huh.
That is weird.
Is there a way to select which team to spectate or like which player to spectate?
I don't think so. Because we can see it for all of the players here. Yeah. And we cannot see it for any of the players on the west side this time. That is weird. So it really didn't make that much of a difference, but
we can check once the draft is over, but it doesn't seem to be. Yeah, it just switched around, right?
Yeah.
On the other stream
Exactly.
it was the left
side.
yeah.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird, but it's fine. We can still see what they're building and see how they try and match their opponents. You see Insta Mines coming out.
Yep, no draft on the left side. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is.
But that's also okay. Then we don't have to show the drafts and no stream sniping.
How do you feel about, let's say, for example, like placing double grunts or double huntress and then doing a mine if you're on the first rotation? Like if you really want to try and fight for middle?
Me personally, I make it. It depends on what my team has. So if my other two lanes have ghouls or footmen, which are very good at controlling mid early on, then I sometimes do it because it's always nice to have mid dominance for the first 3 waves. And it also depends on who I'm facing. In high elo, I usually know the tendencies of my opponents, and if the player is someone who always builds on the first wave, then I'm more likely to do it than if I know that the other player sometimes doesn't build anything. Because if they don't build anything, then usually one grunt is fine. I wouldn't go one hunt because one huntress just loses to everything.
Oh, but we do see 4 ghouls coming out from. Was that teal?
Yeah.
Did I miss the first wave?
They both didn't
Oh.
build, huh?
Oh, that is what happened. Okay. I thought for a second I missed the first wave. I was like surprised at seeing 4 ghouls coming out from from who I thought was red. But okay, this makes more sense. And 4 footmen, so he is not getting a hero on the second wave, right?
No, with four footmen, it can also be possible if you control mid the entire time. But since nobody built on the first wave, it might be close. And it looks like yellow is taking mid control here. Let's see.
Yeah.
Maybe not
I think
yet.
the ghouls will for sure take it.
Yeah. But I'm curious to see if top lane will be a hunt mirror match. Because both players skipped.
Might be. Yeah, I actually do enjoy with hunts to skip the first turn. To not show it.
Yeah, the ghoul surprise.
But we do see ghouls and shamans coming out. This is a blind shaman coming into Red's army. It could also be built into the ghouls from teal, so he is maybe expecting to win this round to get the lightning shield onto the ghouls from teal.
That's always a very strong play. If you get the lightning shield on the next wave, that's very tilting for the other player.
It is going to win the lane win the round instantly. And
you just watch your units die and you can't do anything.
Because he sees that he doesn't have a dispel, but do we see the upgrade? Or does he probably wants his hero for the next? Also, it's not really that strong against Huntresses, lightning shield.
That's
true.
So
it is a lot of value spent. It would have been a different story if his opponent had some kind of different melee unit.
Yeah, it is usually worth to skip on shamans early on if you're into Huntresses.
Yeah, that has been my vision as well. That is not really worth getting it.
But we see the Dreadlord and the ghouls on Aless this time, so right side has some nice synergy there. But also a Dreadlord for orange.
Also, Dreadlord and shamans going into this spam of ghouls, which is very devastating for Yedo to see. So even though he got so many ghouls, he is not even getting middle control here.
Already half a level of XP for the Dreadlord. That is huge.
That is very powerful.
Both purple and orange have shamans into ghouls. That is.
Yeah, and we do see a blood mage, which is a decent hero against ghouls because of the flame strike.
Yeah,
that's actually very nice. We can do that.
And it's always nice to have a ranged hero with hunts that stays in the back.
Even on this, blood mage decided to go full frontline. But he stayed alive for most of it, and we see a warden coming out from the from blue here. I think it's a decent option. I don't think it's like the best option against huntresses. But I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree. But sometimes you can't have the best option. You don't have the best options.
You can't cherry pick what heroes you want to get. Sometimes you offer it.
Yeah, we see the Dark Ranger and Dryads, which is usually a good counter into the Dark Ranger. Unfortunately, we have footmen on purple.
Yeah, that is.
Footmen, they just wreck the Dryads.
Yeah, it must feel bad building the Dryads this game.
Yeah.
But you do have to dispel the shamans, else all of your ghouls are just going to disappear.
Yep. If Teal has like 1 or 2 more Dryads here, they actually kill the Dark Ranger. But this way, sadly, the Dark Ranger stacks, and this will be some big XP.
Yeah, for both of the heroes with the ghouls coming out from Yedo. And we did see an early tier 2 and no hero from Yedo in this game. And he got an instant disenchant. I'm not sure what he wanted disenchant here. I assume it's just the shamans.
I guess the lightning shield, yeah. But AoE dispel is unreliable into the lightning shield because they just recast it.
I think it's a lot of gold to invest just to remove the lightning shield. this early
Yeah.
on.
It might work out later on. Spirit Walkers are very nice into shamans in general because if the shaman player doesn't toggle off purge, because the shamans will start to purge the spirit link and just waste their mana.
Yeah, that is a lot of mana that is just going to be
Yeah.
wasted.
So orange will have to ideally toggle off the purge. Then should be fine.
Yeah.
And we see some early gargoyles on blue. Was that blue? Yeah, that was blue.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I
It's a bit of a tempo play.
Like, I understand he wanted to spill all of the spawns from the Dark Ranger and the Lightning Shields, but I feel bad for Seal having to fight into these footmen. It is not an
That is
easy fight.
very rough.
Yeah, it's a very lucky draft, and I don't think there's a much better answer he could have done here. I think it's...
Yeah, depending on what he has, it's probably better to tech up at this point.
Yeah.
At least to tier 2. And that's what he does. Actually, Necromancers also very nice into Dark Ranger, if you get enough of them, because they just spawn skeletons, and you don't get any skeletons from skeletons. And the Dark Ranger will just attack the skeletons.
I don't remember exactly I actually don't remember for the last game, but if I'm correct, I think Yellow last game also went for a super elite hero. Maybe it was actually Orange that last game.
I think it was red.
Oh, it might have been.
Red?
Oh yeah, it was red. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
was
on the 5th wave or
hard.
something he got the hero.
Yeah, it was super late. But that is what we're seeing of Yellow this game. Getting a super late hero to try and fight for middle prio.
Yeah. And Gargoyles plus Necros for blue, which is actually really nice. The hunts can't target the Gargoyles, and the Necros are good into the hunts because they just give them fodder to hit. Well, the hunts get attacked
But they
from
have
the range.
almost gotten a tower here. We do see some Dragonhawk Riders. After watching these games, I am actually starting to open up a bit for the Dragonhawk Riders as a source of DPS.
Yep, and let's see. I mean, purple already has some rifles, which are a counter to the Dragonhawks.
Yeah.
So he should be fine, but Dragonhawks in general, nice to distract the aggro from the Dark Ranger.
Yeah.
But this tower should go down shortly. Maybe just 1 or 2 more waves.
Maybe, yeah. 1 or 2 more rounds and it is going to fall. I think, did I miss Yellow getting a hero? Because this Dreadnought is level 2, so he must have gotten it earlier. I thought he
got it wave 3, I think.
Then I totally missed it. For some reason I thought he still hadn't gotten his first hero. Never mind, but it is not even that far behind in XP. So both Dreadnoughts are going to go dive around the same time. But again, I feel like this looks very similar to the first game, but I think we just switched the sides here. Where it seems like one team.
Actually, I think it's the same sides.
Is it?
I think.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah, I think it's the same sides. And I mean, right side has a chance, or like, it can be risky to make too many necros early on if you're pushing, because they just slow down the fight and the opponents might stack easier. But so far it's looking very safe what the left side is doing. Very solid gameplay.
Are units like Spellbreakers, are those like a hard counter to Necros? Like, would he ever be in a position where he would toggle off the spawns because the opponent would have Spellbreakers?
I don't think he would. I mean, they are a very good counter, but I don't think you would ever toggle off the skeleton spawns because you just overwhelm the Spellbreakers. Spellbreakers are still nice into Necros because they have medium armor, they're very tanky, and they don't spawn any corpses, I think. So you can't get any Necro corpses from Spellbreakers as far as I know. So they are still a very good counter. They can also steal the Cripple and the Frenzy. but they do get overwhelmed. So I would never toggle off
Yep.
skeletons into them.
Also, there's a small air fight happening with these gargoyles, but it is nothing major.
Yep, and the lightning shield ticking away always feels bad. Ah, there's the dispel.
It's some damage it will get off. But also, I actually think the Blood Mage is quite a good hero against Necros, because he's going to have enough damage, especially with tier 5, to be able to kill most of them if he can get a good cast on it.
Yeah, I didn't even know that tier 2 or level 2
I was
Flamestrike
also,
already one shot the Necros.
I was surprised about that as well.
Yeah. I mean, Necros do get a little bit of HP and mana pool if you upgrade them. Like if you upgrade Frenzy and Cripple, they do get a little bit of HP and mana. So maybe that would make a difference, but Flamestrike
now-
definitely very strong into them.
We do also see some Necros coming off from Teal here. If this goes on, if he can get a couple more, he might have enough to be able to stack with Yellow in future waves. If
Yes.
this purple doesn't have an answer for them.
Did the right team already go for a second mines?
I have not checked. It
No,
seems
they
like
haven't.
I think it's the same as the first game where we see double mine from the winning team, and I think in this situation it will just generate like slightly too much gold, and it's just going like that is kind of what we saw in the first game, where they had the pressure and they were able to keep the pressure the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's definitely the wrong decision, but I personally would always, or most of the time, go for a second mine if I feel like I'm not immediately going to stack back.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like the right side is going to stack anytime soon.
I feel like the best chance at a stack is probably Teal with his Necros, assuming that purple doesn't have a good answer for them.
I definitely agree.
I think that could be definitely a win con for the right side. Else we also just have the Blood Mage. Like if he can get a good cast onto blue, he can actually win a fight. Maybe not level 3.
Yeah. We see the tier 3 from blue. He gets the skeleton mages, very strong.
Yeah.
But here, like I think this is the chance for right side to stack. Maybe not this wave, but next wave. Necros into Necros is a very, very slow fight. And if Teal can stall out for long enough so that yellow catches up, this is actually a win condition.
Couple more Necros, and it might have been able to stack. Just ever so slightly wasn't able to get enough front line set up, and they get wiped slightly before. Yellow was here to save him.
It would be nice for Teal to skill Cripple, because that just gives some extra things to dispel, and it just slows the fight down even more.
Well, we do see Teal trying to build back. He is trying to go for the stack here. He knows that is his win con at this point, or like his chance to push back. We also see a Frostworm coming off from orange here, and a Destroyer. Some super strong units. But a single Frostworm isn't going to do that much damage, especially into this many gargoyles. So I definitely feel like building Frostworms slows the game down a little. It doesn't create as much pressure.
Yeah, but
on those units, but it does scale really nicely.
Yeah, and it's always it's usually better to build damage units rather than tank units if you're pushing. And I would rather see a Frostworm here than a Mountain Giant or maybe you could get like one siege engine or something, but he has Destros, he doesn't have siege engines. So yeah.
But I am not sure if we're seeing any more Necros. I do think that there are more Necros, and we see the upgrade on the Necros. I don't think he had that before. I also missed it.
This could be
this
big.
Might be the first time we can see a stack coming off the east side here.
Right side, left side might be on a little bit of a timer. If the Dreadlord hits level 6 with the Necros, this is looking very stackable.
Even with the stack, he is clearing most of the wave here.
This is
and there are a couple, a small stack, but a couple of Necros, they can do a ton of work here, maybe. I'm not sure if they will be able to keep the stack, but it kind of feels like they're pushing back a little here, and maybe if Seal has more Necros for the next turn and there's not an answer for them, this could be a like a change in the game.
Yeah. I think as yellow, you see that orange doesn't have tanks. He has Destros and Worms. So it's definitely an option to just mass gargoyles or any
Yeah.
other piercing air. Should do very well, even though orange also has gargoyles, but
I
it's
agree. I
definitely
agree. Actually, yeah. I think that could be a very good option into the frost rooms.
yeah. If
But
you
do
don't,
you
if you,
think?
Mhm.
I was thinking, do you think at some point you're just going to get outscaled because of the splash damage when you cannot stack them further, or when you cannot split them any further?
um, that's a good question. I think maybe, but that point is not anytime soon. I think you
Yeah.
would need very very many worms, and I'm not sure if you could ever outmass the gargoyles with worm splash.
But this is actually slightly devastating that
Yeah.
I think Blue had an extra destroyer
Ooh,
staying
we see
alive
three
to.
mines on blue. We see 3 mines on blue.
Oh, I did not even notice
Interesting.
that. That is only for Blue here. But that
I don't
single
mind
destroyer,
it.
I think, messed up the east side's stack here totally. Like they got
Yeah,
so many of the spawn from the Necros.
that's a very good point. And I think what's also interesting that every player, if I'm not mistaken, on the left side build back. I think they all have their armies in the back,
Oh yeah.
which is interesting. It just keeps the fights away from the opponent base. Usually, it is better to have at least one player in the front so you can create a stack. But all
And I
players back is
think
also
because we did see that the that Orange didn't have tanks, that has now started building destroyers as well.
yeah.
I think instead of going for the Geiger spam, he might just go for a bunch of destroyers. And that could also be slightly scary for the west side if they don't have a good answer for it. But
Yeah.
as for now, this is a hard situation to be in with the destroyers for the Necrons.
Blue having destroyers is very good here for the left
Yeah,
side team. And
it
red
is.
has a little bit of a problem. Red doesn't have anything into the that kills
Oh,
the. Ooh, I like that. Very very early aura. I like it a lot.
I do like it, but I guess it's fine for like I just think at least one of them should probably be
That's true. Yeah.
playing
If you
forward.
get the aura, you should build in
Yeah.
front. That
Like
is for sure.
what's the point of like playing back and then having an aura that makes you get there at the same time? Like then
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been better to maybe wait with the aura
Yeah,
or
that's a good point.
for the team to stack. But now we see that Red Dart getting level 6. He uses on the same wave here. He just want to get as much damage to this wave and do as few units
Yeah.
as possible. It does
What I
mean
was
that his backline is still alive for this match.
what I was saying or gonna say is that both yellow and red don't have very many units that are good into the Infernal. So the Orange Dreadlord, he will do a lot of work because it's
Yeah.
magic immune, and you will see it cast into Red's army, and Red has not a
And
lot that.
only has his gargoyles, but they are getting pinned down by the frost worms because
Yeah.
he decided to opt into destroyers. So he doesn't really have enough to deal with the Inferno now.
Yep. And it just lives and kills everything on the
Yeah.
ground.
And it is a very hard unit to deal with. Like this Inferno is super tanky and it's magic immune. And most of the high DPS units in this game are magic based.
Yep.
It's hard to find good like peers or like I guess you have Wind Riders and Hippogriff Riders, but besides that, it's not an easy task to deal with an Inferno. And even if you do have Wind Riders and Hippogriff, they have to kill all of the units that can attack them first.
Yep. That's very true.
And I think we still have the ultimate from the Necro, or maybe yeah, here comes
Yep.
down. And I think it's just a hard unit. So even like though he has a couple of riflemen from the early game, I guess his hero is quite strong, but it is still a lot of pressure he is taking off the rest of his
This
army.
will be a double Infernal. This will be Teal's Infernal plus Yellow's Infernal.
Yeah. And I don't think he really lost many units because this Dark Ranger was too busy dealing with the Infernal.
Yep.
And now we see the second one going off, and an Infernal coming off from Orange here. This game is just fight of the Infernals. Both sides, Infernal are just doing so much work. But it is Orange's army that stays on top here.
Orange is definitely very strong. And he also has bears. Bears are very good units if the opponent does not have fairy dragons. Fairy dragons are the best counter into bears.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this game feels to be more air orientated compared to the first game.
Yeah, I agree.
There's some super strong air units and air armies coming from both sides, and we do see some damage going on to the fortress. It's a lot of damage. It's down to 1 KHP now. One single good push could be the end. And the destroyers are just manhandling these necros.
Yeah, destroyers are very good into necros.
Yeah. This is a very tough situation. And we do see a keeper coming out, which is also a super strong ultimate hero. And a level 1 chieftain for the aura.
This is looking more over by the minute, but right side still has a chance. They're not giving up. They have very strong heroes. Yeah. The Talisman of Evasion is mathematically probably not the best item to buy, but it still offers some value. It's usually better to get armor early on and some health. On a Dreadlord, you'd most likely even want some belts because he deals a lot of damage and life steals, so damage is very, very valuable on him.
Yeah, these fast rooms are doing so much in these fights. Well, actually,
yeah, with Bloodlust they do a lot. Yeah. They're very strong.
And we still see the Infernal. It is very hard for Red to deal with. He doesn't have a strong 1v1 hero, so it's very hard for him to deal with the Infernal. And this is going to be even more damage. I don't think this is the game for now. But a single push where they get access to the base. And it might actually fall here. It's down at 10 HP. And it's game over. It's the splash damage coming from the meat wagon. Was enough to seal.
Yep.
And
well, two very good games. A little bit one-sided, but well played by everyone. You can definitely see that all these players are quite knowledgeable and skilled.
Yeah.
Which is what we like to see.
I think the biggest difference between the first game that we saw and the series that we just witnessed is that here there was so much pressure. Once the west side got a grip or got a lead, they just never let go and never gave a chance for the east side to ever come back.
Yeah. What we saw this game compared to the last game was the shaman difference. Last game, the left side had the Dreadlord and Ghoul matchup, and right side did not have any shamans. And in this case, left side had shamans when the right side had Ghoul and Dreadlord. So that's a big difference. That gives you the early push, and if you play properly from then on, it's very hard to throw the lead.
And I would also point out to say that Teal had a very unfortunate matchup with his, I think it was Ghoul Dryad into Footman Shaman.
Yeah.
It was very hard for him to deal with that. And there's not really that much you can do in that situation. Yeah,
that's the thing with draft. You can draft a very good comp, but if your opponent just happens to draft the counter to that comp, you can't really do much.
Sons of Grimnir against. We can actually watch the other bracket game here. I'm not sure what the current score is, but I They started 20 minutes ago, so I assume they're still in game. So I feel like we should probably
Yeah.
just watch this game.
Let's
It
do
would be
it.
nice if I'm not sure, Pooh, if you're here.
Yep.
I was thinking, can you maybe try and figure out what the score is between the other bracket? Because then we are just going to go into this game.
I would
Let's see,
assume it's the second game, but
Yeah, I would assume as well. I feel like these were two rather quick games.
Yeah.
It would make sense that it started 20 minutes ago and it would be the second game. Okay. Can you see my stream?
Yep.
yes.
Perfect.
Are we skipping to live or do we
Okay,
watch the game from the start?
I don't think you can skip.
Or you can
I
fast
think
forward, I think.
can you? I don't.
I think like
I-
F6 or something, F6 and F5,
F6.
so it speeds up. And is that the keybind? I'm not quite sure.
I feel like it would kind of make sense. Oh, I went to 0.5. I can fast forward, but I'm not sure if I can skip in
Yeah.
time. Now it's up at
Um,
3x, but
Yeah. But the game is not. It's bugged, is it?
it always
I think
happens in the start. This is just during the draft, it
Okay.
bugs out, and then after the draft, it will go back to normal.
Okay.
But I guess we could do fast forwarding because I do want to have a
don't
live
mind.
view. Yeah, I do
I
want
think
to have a
the- I
live
think-
view for the
Yeah,
final.
I think I think the only issue is that we want to stream the final live, so we don't want to be too
Yeah.
far behind, right?
Exactly. So if it does end up with a 2-0, which has been the case for every single series so far, we do want to make sure that we don't miss the final.
Yep.
And I don't want to make the players wait for 20 minutes if it just ended.
Yep. I mean, we can
Actually, it
cast
doesn't
a
matter
little
when
bit.
it ended. Yeah. But I do see an early keeper. I actually think this is such a nice hero in the start.
It is.
It feels so easy to stack waves up, especially if he has, like, if he knows his opponent doesn't have the spell. If he can just take it like an Orb of Darkness, it
Yep.
feels like he can stack up every single wave.
Or if you have banshees, as I said, with
Yeah.
the AMS and the curse, it's just very shamans into
I feel
ghouls,
like
very
this-
strong.
This is like the curse of ghouls. I feel like every time we've seen a player go for a mass ghouls, like a full row of ghouls, the opponent just always have shamans.
Yeah. But everybody prioritizes shamans, and with the good reason, because they're the only good counter to ghouls at the start.
And we also see the Dreadlord Ghoul coming out. A very nice combo.
But also into shamans. Let's see if the Dryad can
Yeah.
make the difference.
Not this
Not
time.
quite.
The Banshees, which is actually the first time we see Banshees against ghouls or shamans, I think.
Yeah. What's important if you're with banshees into shamans, that you turn off curse.
Wait,
to
we actually
only-
did see the Orb of Darkness on the keeper. But
very
there's
risky
a,
into the Dryads. Yeah, very risky.
I think he did it before he saw the Dryads. I think. Maybe not, but
Yeah, it can work out if you have banshees or maybe sorceresses, because they cast a lot of other spells. But it's a very all-in play.
I see some damage getting onto the tower. But we are also 7 minutes in.
There's the banshees for the keeper. Yep, that was the play. So now the Dryads have some other stuff to dispel, and the orb also works on the Dryads themselves, so you can get skeletons
That
from
is
the Dryads.
actually also very unfortunate it doesn't stack this
Yeah.
wave, but that actually makes so much sense. Like that is, he kind of baited him into building Dryads, which are now
Yeah.
not as useful as they would have been against just a standard keeper. Like it's still strong because of the dispel, but he's kind of forcing him to either spend more on Dryads and
Yeah.
build even more pierce against heavy armor, or he just accepts the defeat in the battle and it's just like acknowledges he doesn't have enough dispel as for now.
It is very tough though, because I think it's yellow. because he has hunts. So the dryads are also very strong into the huntresses. So
Yeah.
it's not that bad to just keep spamming dryads for the orange player.
Oh wait, you're right. It is into
Yeah.
hunts. That is
If he had
actually
anything, if he had anything
yeah.
other than hunts, he might have a good
Yeah.
chance here.
I thought it actually was. I thought it were what is called a heavy armor start.
But
That
the
is
statue stacking,
yeah.
that can be valuable.
Also, Necros coming out from Druk
Yeah.
here.
And the power of dryads. Look at this. Red doing a very good job. 5 dryad stacking. The Dreadlord always dying very quickly.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs some positioning adjustment.
Yeah. I think
And
that
the
is one of
dark.
the hardest games, or like hardest aspects of this game to learn. Is like the small, like I know there's like of course like pathing RNG, but I think you can manipulate it to an extent, and I think it's, at least for me, it's I don't understand it quite well, like
Yep.
pathing in the game.
And 1 stack and the Dark Ranger is level 5. That is a very big deal.
Yeah.
Stacks with his own wave. Yep. Very strong push by the left hand.
We have a
side team.
report
do
from
see
the
tanks.
other series. It's 1-0 for Sons of Gremar versus the Great Wall.
Yeah, I
Okay.
saw it. Yeah, and I
So it
actually
is.
forgot what players. I think Sons of Greenmore or Drook's team.
Yeah.
If I am correct. Which
So they are on course to go 2-0. 2-0.
yeah. But as we saw in the first series, is that any game can be turned around with a single stack.
Yep,
You see level
definitely.
6 coming off from. Do you know, with the anti-magic shield, can you still get the Dark Ranger ultimate off?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think so, but I'm not sure.
Like I would assume you could, since you can use it against destroyers, I believe. But I could
Yeah.
also be wrong about that.
Usually ultimates penetrate magic immunity because you can
Yeah.
also do destroyers, and like something like the Priestess of the Moon ultimate also goes through magic shell. Even it
But
might be
doesn't
physical damage. I'm not sure.
like it might like I haven't read anything about the game, but I feel like anti-magic it blocks the stun from the infernal, or maybe that is just because I wasn't paying good enough attention.
That might be true. That might be true. Yeah.
So I feel like
But
it's
it
not
really, yeah.
easy to like it's not a like it's kind of hard to figure out like the different interactions in the game.
Yeah, I think it's usually just hero spells that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, Inferno is also a hero spell. Good point. But
Yeah, exactly. But we do see some tanks going out. They are dealing with the air super nicely, and we
Yellow
see
is
a
doing
good stack
very well.
come. Yeah.
What I
And
really like
yellow.
is that he sold his Dark Orb
Yeah, I was
when
about
he
to mention that.
realized
Yeah.
it's not worth it anymore. He sold it. Very good play.
Yeah. But this is also like the power of the keeper. It's probably the best hero to create a stack, both in the early and mid and late game. Like it is just a super strong overall champ to delay the wave.
Yeah, very nice push. And another
Yeah, a
ultimate.
different ultimate coming off, and the army still standing. And now all of Yellow's army comes in here.
Yeah.
Wait, that is his own army.
I mean, Yellow has a very, very good unit comp. He has Banshees,
Yeah.
Spellbreakers, and tanks. And that basically counters everything. The tanks counter everything in the air and have good armor into ranged units.
Yeah.
The Spellbreakers can't be possessed and also have very good armor into ranged units, and the Banshees possess all the melee units.
And they're
It's a
also
very good
countered like
comp.
mountain giants. They're also fine against tanks. He kind of has a counter for every possible tank unit that
Yeah.
Orange could have. Like it's kind of a meme, but like tanks do counter tanks with the siege damage. So whoever gets the shots off first,
Yep.
those shots also deal a ton of damage. See a double medallion on
Blue
the
almost stacking
triple.
with teal, with orange.
Yeah, it's kind of pushing back now,
Purple, sorry.
but teal is also super strong here. And we see a Pit Lord coming out. I assume he didn't have a better option because I don't. Like, I'm not sure how you feel about it. But I feel like Pit Lord is
Yeah,
kind of like a worse version of Dread Lord.
it's very feast or famine. Either you get ahead and
Yeah.
you dominate and deal a lot of damage, but it's also like, yeah, especially with Rain of Fire, I'm not the biggest fan. There's some players that are of the opinion that Rain of Fire is the best spell of, or like one of the better spells of Pit Lord. I personally do not like it, but I think that's just like a style choice. I like my
Even
Pit Lord cleaving the backline.
yeah, I also think very soon that we would have caught up to the real time because we are now 27 minutes into the game. We started
Oh yeah,
when they were 20 minutes in the game, and we did a 3x speed on the timer here.
good point. Should slow down any minute.
Yeah, and here it is. Wait, maybe.
That's just lag.
Oh, if I had timed that, it would have been impressive. But
Yeah. I mean, the spell damage from the Rain of Fire is very good into siege engines. So that's a point. The siege, the fortified does take strong damage from spells like Rain of Fire and Blizzard.
Oh, and here it is, and we are caught up in time.
Nice, and it's still a very open game.
Yeah.
Basically, no damage done on the left side base, even though they're getting pushed in.
I feel like this is not a real time.
Seems a bit slow.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to 1x, and here we are. I think does it feel
Maybe
off?
just maybe it just feels slow because we were watching such a fast game.
It no, but this is slow. Is it?
I don't think so.
No, but there's bloodlust on, or no, there's not.
I think this is the normal.
I think it's normal. It's hard to tell.
Ooh, Orange going for bears into banshees, risky play.
That is a very risky play indeed.
But no possessors coming out. No possessors coming out.
He could simply just be waiting, hoping that Orange would build even more to get even more value off.
Does Yellow have a second hero? Oh yeah, he has the Pit Lord.
Yeah,
right.
he has the Pit Lord, yeah. Also, how do you feel about Yellow opting into the Legion Horn?
It's difficult. I think.
Normally,
yeah. I think
Oh.
since he's the one that they tried to stack on,
yeah,
or that they have stacked on in the past, it's not the best option. But on the other hand, the Legion is, I think, the only healing that affects tanks.
Oh, I see.
It is kind of good with siege engines.
Yeah, that does make sense. Because I was questioning it myself because I definitely think it's like valuable to get to the lane faster. But when he is like the obvious stacking guy on the team, there's also a lot of value at staying as far back as possible.
Yep, but it looks like left side is stacking a little bit.
Yeah. With the help of the Shadow Hunter. We saw the strength of the ultimate.
Yeah.
We've seen it multiple times.
Tauren Chieftain very strong.
Also some super good stoning heroes we see off blue.
Yeah.
And with the
Archmage with the mana aura with the Necros, very strong.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is looking like a good push.
But he actually has it at full rank here, or it's at level 2 rank. But but this is such a big wave. I'm not sure if they'll be able to hold this. He did get some possesses off the on the bears, but there's still a lot of them standing.
There's a lot of ghouls on red. They just get melted by the AoE now in the late game.
Sure if they can hold this. I don't think there's Shadowhunt Ultimate available, but even without it, it's so hard for them to fight all of this. Now Blue's army gets there as well, and they have all of their heroes still standing. Maybe
this
some
will
of
be
the
close. I think this might be over.
Game over here.
Even if Teal spawns, this is probably a wipe. Good game.
And it's game over. GG.
And another 2-0. This will be an exciting finals.
That is
Clean sweeping into the finals.
Yeah. So we have Team Sons of Gwynmere against. Oh, they didn't update it. I forgot who it was. They are just feeding, I think. I think Art's team lost.
No, Art's team won 2-0.
Oh, they won. But which team was Art on?
Art is on team aspects, the artistic aspects of Potato. So it should be Sons of Grimnir against artistic aspects of Potato.
Okay.
In the finals.
Tox, do you want me to update it, or are you updating it?
Can you update it? I'm
Yep.
not sure how to
Yep.
use the. I'm not even on the site.
Okay, no worries. There it is. We have the final bracket.
Yeah. I am super excited for this match. Both teams have not lost a single game in this whole tournament. They've both swept their groups in 2-0 fashion, and in the semifinals 2-0. And now they match against each other in the final. And also, they've done this against some super strong teams.
Yeah, it's a quite a stacked tournament. There have been some, I think 5 or 6 quite high elo teams.
Yeah. But I also know that there are still some very good players that did not participate in the tournament. And I think it would be super exciting for the top of the top. I'm talking about you, Fido. I would love to see you in a tournament setting.
What about me?
No, you as well. I haven't seen you play. I haven't seen you in ladder. But I've played with Fido once, I think.
Yeah, no, it would definitely be nice to have some.
Yeah.
I mean, Gorek was in the tournament. He's rank 4 of the solo ladder. And I think the ranked 4 team of the AT ladder was also playing in the first match.
Is AT is like competitive in Direct Strike, would you say?
Yeah, fairly. I think you definitely have a sort of an advantage if you queue up with a teammate.
Yeah.
It's definitely easier to win, but yeah, I think it's a very good addition to the ladder.
I agree.
But yeah, I think we have like a rule so that teams can't or players can't participate more than 3 tournaments in a row. So I think we should get some new exciting teams every week.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just to make sure that it's not just like if you have 8 teams that always snipe the signups the minute it goes live.
Yeah,
it can be kind of a problem. So I think it was like mainly because of that we put the rule in play. But if that is not really a problem, we might change it in the future. But as for now, that is the setup that we're going for, just to make sure that every single player can get their turn in the tournament.
Yep, definitely a good rule to have, I think.
So as for now, we are just waiting for the lobby to be set up, and then we will get right into the final.
Beautiful. Yeah. What I also appreciate a lot is that I think at least 4 teams are mainly made up of new players that just that hopped onto the grubby hype wave of Direct Strike. And it's very nice to have some relatively new players in the community participating in this tournament.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Like I'm also super new myself. I started playing this then a month ago, I think. But I've been enjoying Direct Strike a lot. I think it's a super fun game.
What's your MMR?
I peaked at 1900. I'm currently 1850, I think.
That's pretty good. Nice. For 1 month?
Yeah. I can check my count actually. I am 1844. I am 69 wins and 48 losses.
That's a good win rate. Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to participate in the tournament sometime.
Maybe. I peaked at 1900 with like 65%, but then I dropped down a lot. But it's been fun.
Nice. It's really nice to have you guys from the Risk community getting involved. I've also been watching some of your what's it, Friday tournaments,
Oh, really?
and I think they're quite exciting. Like I've
Yeah.
never played Risk myself, but the game
Well,
yesterday was insane.
yeah, I think it's awesome. I'm also actually quite new to Risk as well. Like, I've been playing that for a little more than half a year, but it's a super fun game as well. But this is like totally different. Even though it's like an RTS, auto-battler, it's kind of high pace, especially with like the microing of the different unit abilities and like the
Wait,
positioning.
but there's a lot more microing and Risk, no?
Well, there is more microing, but that is like an actual RTS game. But
Yeah.
this is like a like when you think of like an auto battler, I don't really feel like there's as much like micro that you do. Like I've played a lot of TFT as well, and like the only kind of like microing you do is pretty much just your roll downs. You try to find your different units.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
There's still radio silence from both the teams, so I am not 100% sure how
They
it
haven't
is.
set up the game yet.
I don't think so. We did get the first semifinal right, like correct, right? It
Yeah.
wasn't a 1-1. Okay, just making sure.
Yeah.
Radio silence from the finalists.
Yeah.
Huh. They just try to heighten the tension, the hype. I'm just gonna go real quick and get something to drink while
Yep.
we have
Yeah.
a little bit of a break. Be right back.
I think I would actually do the same.
Go for it.
Can you take over, Pooh?
Oh yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
In the meantime, we can watch our memes. I love memes. I want direct strike memes, by the way. Right now, these are all risk related memes, but if you guys have direct strike memes, I've been asking in the chat. That's what I want. Nuzzle's in the YouTube chat asking where Derringer is. Derringer's not playing today. Nuzzle says he's giving the noobs a chance.
All right, I'm back. Where do we stand?
We are just waiting to hear from someone.
Okay.
Wait, the Great Wall, is that who's? Nope, never mind. I am messaging the wrong people.
Are we just going to do the flow stream again, or are we hopping into the lobby? I think there was no real advantage of hopping into the lobby, right?
Yeah, I think we'll leave that up to Tox. He can choose whatever's more comfortable
Okay.
for him. Once he's back, he went to go get some water as well.
I am back now.
Awesome.
I heard the last part. I think we might as well just join the lobby, since there's also no downside to it, and then we just make sure that we are up in real time. There's not
Yep,
really
sounds
any sniping that can be done.
sounds good.
Yeah, I see that we are just waiting for the lobby to be set up still, and I see that one side is asking for the lobby, so it should be up anytime.
Wolf Girl feed in the Twitch chat saying, "Who from Riskcord is even playing then?" That's a good question. I don't think anyone from Risk is playing today. We were gonna have a
Not
team
this
play,
time. Yeah,
but
we are trying to set up a team, but it didn't go through this time. But
we fell apart.
we do have some decent players. Like we have at least Saksu. He is about 2.5. Like not 2.5. He is like 2050 more, and I'm like 850. So maybe in the future we are going to have a Riskcord team on the Direct Strike tournament panel as well.
What's the, if I may ask, what's the deal with Saksu? Why does he always play on alternate accounts in the Risk tournaments?
That is because he is so good at the game that he is getting targeted solely
Oh,
on his name. He is
okay.
probably the best player in Risk. Um,
But you are anonymous, not?
you are to an extent, because if people still know that you are playing in the tournament and like know that you're in the lobby, and they see a single guy who's playing super well, they have a pretty fair guess to say it's probably Soxu, and it would be in the best interest to focus him down to
Okay.
to make sure he doesn't take over the game. I think Soxu has. I can maybe check. I think he has close to 18 tournament wins to his name, if not even more.
Tox, I think they have their
Not
game up,
bad.
by the way, called Finals.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Perfect. But he
Let's
is
go.
a freak of nature in Risk. Okay, lobby is
Well,
up.
excited to see
Yeah.
him in future Direct Strike tournaments then.
Yeah. So we are just waiting for Drook's team in the lobby. The game name is Finals with an S.
By the way, I
If
think
they
Droog
are
is also streaming, so if anybody wants to check out his POV, I think it's explosive 24, yeah. Just to give a little shout out.
We linked to Explosive's Twitch. Go check him out. Oh, he's in our channel. Hi, Explosive.
the lobby is asking for if we should leave Flow TV on. I think might actually be a good idea in case that I somehow crash.
Yeah, that's a good
We are
idea.
currently sitting in the lobby, waiting for the players to be ready. And both teams have said that they're ready, so we are probably
Don't forget to stream, please.
starting. Yeah, I'm streaming as soon as we get into the game.
Awesome.
And the game just started. Give me a sec.
Don't tab out until it loads.
Yeah, I just have to wait. Actually, you can even tap out on the Refugee Champions, or I can't. Like, I have to wait a couple of seconds.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the first
2 undefeated
weekly
teams
tournament? Yeah.
in the
first weekly-
first weekly tournament. It's all of the bragging rights until the next week. And can call themselves the best trio in the Rick Strike.
And I mean, it's a small one, but it's a cash prize.
Yeah, we shouldn't forget about
Yeah.
that. And also, for future tournaments, like for a risk, we have sometimes done sponsorships with different partners that can also help increase the prize pool. And what we do for risk is that we also set up donations. So if viewers want to donate towards the prize pool, that can also be arranged. But
That'd
that
be
is
cool, yeah.
just for the future.
Yep.
Yep.
So now we
I
just
think-
want to focus on this BO3, this final between 2 undefeated teams. One of them has to face their first defeat in the tournament.
This should be a crazy match. It is best of 3, right? Not best of 5?
Yeah, this is a best of 3 series. And I am excited to see how this game develops.
Just waiting for the draft to be done.
Yeah, they're taking their time, making sure they pick the right options, making sure there doesn't have anything left out.
I'm sure
Making
they're all
sure they-
picking bat riders and sorcerers and
Yeah,
all the strong units out there.
yeah. And as soon as they get the heroes, they will go for the Blade Master.
Blade Master is actually not as bad. It's not that
Is
bad.
he not?
In certain situations, he's quite good. I like him. For me, he's like B tier at least.
Yeah. Okay, they're just like I've only played maybe 100 games of the Strike, and I've kind of stick with the same setup because that is what has been working for me. So I haven't really changed much up.
Yeah, I mean
So they're
that's
just
if you're if you're starting out, that's a good way to start. Just learn a few things at first, get good at them, and then start to learn all the other units and heroes. And
Yeah.
it's fine to have like
Yeah.
favorites at the start that you feel comfortable with.
I've played
played-
like
Hmm?
2 games and Battle.net, and my favorite combo there was to Toxu told me about like, or actually another friend told me about getting what is called the guy with cleave. I forgot what his name is.
Pit Lord.
Pit Lord, getting him and just spamming belts and just making him tanky and just having that cleave just do big
Yeah.
chunk of damage. Or do you see a skip coming from blue here?
Interesting.
So,
Let's see what he
I
surprises us
cannot
with.
see his draft, but it might just be an early hero, I assume.
Yep, he might have huntresses. He might.
Hunts
We've
or
already
an early
seen
hero.
we've seen ghouls be hidden on the first wave. So let's see what he has
So-
later on.
We see a triple grunt from both sides.
A
Trying to
little bit
fight
different.
or the middle prior.
Yeah, a little bit different positioning. Let's see who has the better targeting.
I think it's the deaf side.
Wow.
I think they got
All
the pizza
grunts.
first, but they are like those.
How are they
are-
all focusing the furthest
Yeah.
back grunt? That's
I was shocked about that as well. But even though
ooh, this is
this
close.
is actually very close, yeah, I think Teal might actually. No, it's a different one.
Ooh,
So
yeah,
purple is going to take this prion, which
and it's
also
going to
means
leak
that
into the
these
next
footmen
wave.
are going to stack. But Yedo has an extra footman here,
Yeah,
so he
but
should
the
easily
orange
take
footman.
prion.
Yeah, the orange footmen hold mid
Yeah.
for a long time until they die, so
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
And Now we see what Blue has been hiding. I think I do see a hero coming out.
Yep.
And we do see a keeper with huntresses.
And a shaman.
And
Very nice.
that is honestly a very strong early game. And he's also against ghouls, which means that his
Yeah.
shaman is going to do a lot.
And
Do a
it's
single
already
shaman.
it's very nice if you can already get the trees to spawn from the wave before. Then the
Yeah.
cooldown is already ticking down,
Get
and
the
you might even
cooldown.
get a second tree. But there's no lightning shield yet. Where is the? Ooh, maybe it didn't cast. Maybe you forgot to skill it.
We see. Maybe it just bugged out.
Maybe,
Like
yeah.
sometimes it takes forever. I also think the exclamation marks that he put down kind of shows that he might have actually skilled it up and it just didn't cast. I've had that happen to me as well.
That would be very unlucky, very unfortunate. Could have been some big XP for his hero if he could get the ghoul kills there. Let's see what hero red gets to match the keeper.
When you see keeper with a shaman and a huntress, what hero would you even go for? I feel like that's a very solid early game comp.
It depends on what units I have. So he has grunts and also grunts and shamans, right? So
yeah, no, it's ghouls and
ghouls
shamans.
and shamans. All right, ghouls and shamans. Something
I'll
like
do
a
just a
Crypt Lord would be nice. Yeah,
Crypt
Lord
Lord
would be really nice.
So you see a Lich coming out from red, also a very strong hero. We've seen it do wonders in previous games.
Yep.
But also the Dark Ranger coming out, and we see the Stag coming out, and Stag with a Keeper and a Dark Ranger. That is very hard to deal with only a single Shaman.
And into ghouls now. This is dangerous. Very good start for the left side team.
Yeah. This is going to be a very strong push.
I would expect both heroes to hit level 2.
Yeah. And also just the XP that you're getting off this is super strong.
There's the first level 2.
Are you the type of Dark Ranger player who likes to upgrade life training? Or do you just go for stats?
I think 90% of the cases I go stats, especially with the recent nerfs. They increased the mana cost on her arrow, and the stats definitely help to remedy that nerf or like counter it. In certain scenarios, I couldn't even tell you exactly which scenarios I do go life drain. It is a very strong spell, but often I think it's a bit overrated. I think it's more important to get the skeleton spawns down, and that is better with more damage.
See the Dryads coming out into the Footman again. It does not feel fun, but
yeah.
Also, the Banshees do offer a decent amount of DPS, so he might be able to break into the backline here, so he's not able to get a stack off.
Yeah, the Dark Ranger targeting the hero.
Yeah.
Really nice. What I would have liked to see from yellow is to turn off curse, because then the Banshees get more AMS out against the Dark Ranger.
But we do see a small stack. It's still staying alive, and it's going to survive the Frost Nova. Yeah. And it's just power of the Dark Ranger into ghouls, getting 4 spawns. It's very hard to deal with. They're super tanky.
And these are very small margins that have a very big impact. The Dark Ranger hitting level 3 is a game-changing thing. It will be very tough for the right side team.
Yeah.
Yep.
See a level 3 coming up, and we see a Crypt Lord. I think it's a decent hero. It's very good at stacking in the early game with the beetles.
It's also quite good into Banshees, because Banshees don't dispel, right? Any summoner is quite good into Banshees.
Yeah. But because the Dark Ranger stayed alive for so long, it also means that it's not going to respawn on this wave. So we might be able to see a small pushback coming from the east side team.
That might be huge. And he has Footman into the Dryads.
Yeah,
Let's see.
it's a very good matchup here, but his Red Dart is tanking.
Yeah.
But he is actually able to do most of them. I don't think he doesn't have the anti-pierce upgrade, or I think he does. Never mind.
Yeah. Now
Also
the
the power of
Dryads
the
will
Dryads.
run.
He is this
This is
is a very
big.
lucky targeting. I
Yeah.
feel like. Yeah, he only had a single Dryad run backwards, and he also gets the spawn on the keeper to get the cooldown off earlier.
Yeah, very
And he did up
unfortunate.
into tier 2 to get the dispel. I am slightly surprised about this early dispel against just shamans.
Yeah, especially because hunts are already quite decent into shamans.
Yeah,
They don't suffer from lightning shield that much.
yeah, they can easily split up a little further, and he does have shamans of his own
Yeah,
to purge it a little, but
but he probably
very
got them to
strong.
stack to buff the stack. If you have a big stack with Dark Ranger and the Keeper and some priests, that's just some devastating
That
sustain.
is true. Yeah, but we might actually see a tower drop if they can get enough damage onto this tower.
Yeah,
It's going to be very close. It doesn't get it slightly off.
they might
But
clear yellow under tower here. They
yeah,
might
I was
clear
about to
him.
say, like, the Keeper is just such a strong early game hero if you do not have any dispel. He is spawning 800 HP worth of units, or worth of stats.
Yeah,
And it is
and
just
the
too much
priests.
for, yeah, and the priest healing up.
They're doing work here. Yeah.
And this is looking like a very dominant game so far from the east side, or from the west side. A level 4 Keeper against a level 1 Lich.
That's what early stacks will do for you.
Yeah.
Okay, now the
And
right side team has to try to see what their win conditions are. Try to engineer a stack somewhere, somehow. The thing with having lots of stacking heroes on one side is that you'd usually always, or like if you can get some stacking heroes on the other side as well, then you have very slow and drawn out fights. Or like some stacking units. Something like Necros here could be very big if right side has them.
And we do see, as we've seen in almost every game, the team who gets the tower first just buys the second mind, stays on the top income, and just never lets go of the pressure.
Yeah, I think we've seen one single third mine in all the games, right?
Yeah, we saw a single third mine, and we also, if I remember correctly, we actually saw like the team being put under pressure buying a mine. It was only in the first game we saw that, I think.
True, yeah.
Else they've stayed on a single mine. I'm not sure if that's a part of the downfall, because it's just a hard situation to be in when you're losing the lane, and then trying to opt into mine just feels very bad.
It does sometimes, but sometimes it is necessary. We'll see. The right side team is not that far away from stacking, but at least they're quite fighting quite close to the mid lane, which indicates that they're not losing terribly hard.
Yeah, I definitely think if the right side should try and push through a lane, I think it's probably going to be orange with the Dryad into Footman. It seems like the most realistic lane to try and get a pushback from.
Yeah, the drain almost killing the Lich,
Yeah.
but it survives.
A lot of damage coming off, but he just does not have the DPS for these huntresses.
And blue is adding some rifles, very nice into all the light armor on red side.
Yeah.
Or unarmored.
So slightly, this Keeper is getting very close to level 6, just hitting level 5, getting the 4 treants every single cast against the no dispel opponent. This is going to be a very hard matchup for him to deal with.
Yep. I'm curious to see when blue gets the next hero. He could already opt for it.
Yeah, it's probably going to be this round or the next round.
Yeah. Because the keeper might just survive
Yep.
here, and then the
Yep.
wave spawns
I
without
think
a
it
hero.
would have been a very nice play for him to have opted into a hero this round, because he saw that the keeper would most likely not die.
Yeah, but it's
That
very
is,
it's like
it's super hard to tell.
it would have been a very big brain move.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I definitely don't blame him for not seeing that.
Yeah. It is.
And it might
so hard to
just
spot.
oh my god, it died just in time. Big for blue.
That is super super good timing. So he actually did make the fine play. But I do have the support of the Fortress to try and stay alive here, which can save them for some time, but they do need a plan on how to push back into the west.
Usually the play would be to get some tanky units like mountain giants, tanks, some necros to delay the fight, something of the sort. Yeah, we see the first necros from Teal. Very nice.
Yeah, I do
Just
see
so you can engineer a stack.
Yeah. We also should never sleep on the banshees. Like, they can sometimes just turn a fight over
Yeah, very true.
if they have a good matchup. But as for now, it doesn't seem that purple is letting him have any good possessed targets. He is only grunts in the front end with the Crypt Lord, which can actually turn out to be a very strong frontline hero if he does choose to itemize it, which can be very good against the banshees.
If banshees were not bugged right now, then purple would have a little bit of a problem because it's definitely worth to possess grunts. And the banshees would just possess all of purple's grunts, and then you would only have the hero as a front line. But since the banshees are a bit bugged and they don't target grunts that easily, it is usually safe to just keep massing grunts into banshees at the moment.
I do
So
see
you
a
always have a
couple
front
of
line.
belts going on to the Dreadlord, trying to give him a little more XP. They could also maybe try and wait for the Dreadlord level 6. Like, they do have some very strong level 6 heroes. Like, they have the Lich Dreadlord and the Farseer, which can be good for a push.
Yeah. Oh, we saw a second mine on Teal.
Oh,
I like to see that. Maybe red and yellow also got some second.
So they did choose to go into the second mind. We're
nice.
not
I think that's a
sure
good
when
play.
Yeah, I think they need to do it as well. Because if they just go minus 20 income every 20 seconds, it's just so much gold that they're not getting.
Yeah. And the
But
second mine
level
does
6 Keeper going off here. It is very hard for Teal. I'm not sure if he can clear this even under the fortress.
Yeah, looking rough.
And also the Dark Ranger. This is also a very tough situation or spot to be in, because you cannot really go, like, you can, but going like a single strong tier 3 unit into a Dark Ranger can be so scary.
Yeah,
Because
that
if
is
that
very true.
unit gets mind controlled, there is, like, you just wasted 400 gold and you gave them 400 extra gold into the army.
This could be game here. Left side looking very, very strong.
I am thinking the same. They cleared the whole wave. I think this is actually their first game at 16 minutes.
Very dominant by the left side.
Very
they
strong
had some
early
good
game
heroes to stack. Yeah, they had some very good heroes to stack, but they made the best of it.
Yeah, a very good game.
Very good game.
I think both sides had some very strong heroes, but I do think the downfall for the East team was that their heroes were just skating like a tad slow. Like most of their heroes are like level 6 heroes, and they just were not able to get enough XP. I didn't have the counters for all the spawners.
Yeah. Summoner heroes into no dispel is always very difficult to deal with. And left side had 3 summoner heroes on all lane, like one on each lane. So that's very tough. But that's how the game goes. Sometimes the hero choice decides the game.
Yeah, I'm also hearing from Des that they have gotten shamans in all of their games.
That's obviously very lucky.
Yeah, that is a good draft. In the current state of the game, would you say that no matter your primary frontline in tier 1, if you see Shaman, do you always take the Shaman? Or are there some other combinations?
I personally think Ghoul Banshee is the strongest tier 1 at the moment.
Ooh, Banshee.
Because the Banshees do counter the Shamans, and the Ghouls are the strongest tier 1. So I would always go for Ghoul Banshee over anything else. And then I mostly make it dependent on what my teammates have. So I try to not have 3 lanes of Shamans. I try to, or like 3 lanes of Banshees or something. I think it's
Yeah.
always nice to have a little bit of variety. But if I have like something, sorry?
Oh, I was just saying that we are sitting in the lobby waiting for the game to start. Both teams have typed it already.
Yeah. If I have some like options like Grunt, Dryad, and Shaman, Footman, which are both very strong comps for tier 1, I would most likely look at what my allies have.
Yeah.
And then decide. I would probably go for the Shamans most of the time in that space, in that spot, but it always depends on what the opponent has. It's always a little bit of a game of luck.
Yeah, that is true. But I do want to add to that I actually also think that Banshees in the current state, especially in my MMR, feels super strong because it is. I don't feel like people respect it enough. And if you have a stack, or if you can like fight the opponent next to you, sometimes they don't respect it. And getting a match of like Banshees into Bears or Banshees into Torrents can be game winning. You can just keep the pressure on if you can get the matchup once.
And there are many players that don't consider Banshees when they draft units, right? So if you accidentally have like a nice draft, but you don't have any answer to Banshees, like you don't have something like Spellbreakers or Mountain Giants or tanks,
yeah, it's not the
like
same
a
with
unit.
like Shamans where people,
yeah, like it's usually good to have one unit that is actually decent frontline into Banshees.
I would also say the more that I've climbed, the more that I've started to appreciate or respect Spellbreakers, because those units can also be super hard to deal with, especially if you're ahead.
Yeah.
But we haven't really seen too many Spellbreakers in these sets, or at least the people that have gotten Spellbreakers haven't really spammed them as much as I tend to do. Maybe because they are countable.
Especially if you have Banshees, Spellbreakers are also really nice. Because having Banshees just gives you a free pass to most of the time win the ground battle, right? You can just spam your ground units, your heavy tanks, and like Taurens, Bears, Knights, whatever, and the opponent can't make any tanks of their own if they don't have Mountain Giants.
Yeah.
And then the Mountain Giants get countered by your Bears again. Or your Taurens.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to answer Fado's question, asking what the pros of Zorks are. I do think that you can trade, I think it's 100 gold for the invisibility for, I don't even know how much the item costs, but you get like 100 gold lead. I think that is the only,
Yeah. That is a little bit of a gold trade. Zorks are tough to play. I think if you have Footmen and Ghouls, it's even tougher because they're so low HP that the invisibility doesn't offer as much power. It's way more powerful if you can invisibilize a Grunt or a Huntress.
I don't know if Art does this every game, but every game I've seen him, I think he always skips the first wave.
Seems like it, yeah. It's a little bit of a pattern.
Bad thing, because he's only taking, like, sure, he's giving up middle control, but he is hiding his draft a little. He's making it a little hard for Druk here to select what kind of hero he wants. He doesn't know if he needs a like a hard ghoul counter or if he needs like it is just. I feel like it just makes it hard for him to know how to draft into your first hero, like what you will
Yeah,
need.
that's true. But in his case, he has shamans, so he should be quite
Yeah,
comfortable into ghouls anyways, and then you
yeah,
just draft a hero that fits well into your own comp. Like right
yeah.
here with ghouls, it's
Also,
always nice to have something like a Crypt Lord. Um, yeah. Now we see a
does it
Crypt
leave
Lord on orange
skills?
here.
Yeah,
Nice, good job. Sometimes you have to
but I'm
toggle
not
the.
sure if he can handle. Yeah, I'm not sure if
Yeah,
he'll be able to handle all of these schools. He might be able to with the spawns. Depends on how many he
maybe.
can get. But his hero is already
Ah,
taking aggro.
yeah.
Yeah,
Cast it a little bit
it's
too late.
it's fairly long cooldown on the spawns of the beetles.
Yeah.
And you can't just spam it. But we see a double Crypt Lord coming from the west side. Now they want to stack.
Yep.
This is going to be
Sometimes you have to be
interesting.
careful if you build a Crypt Lord in the first wave. You might have to toggle the beetles off and on because it has the same issue as the Dark Ranger. It sometimes doesn't spawn beetles on the first wave then.
Yeah,
But
but
these
this is
players
kind
are
of a close
experienced.
match. I think he actually might get it here. Yeah, he got another.
Very nice.
This is just a lot of nice XP that he is catching in this wave. Being
Yeah.
able to beat. I feel like I feel like this also happened last game where even though Druk doesn't have a hero, he is actually losing mid control here. Two of the strong spawner heroes.
Yeah.
We do see a Warden coming out.
Nice
Also fairly
spacing on
strong.
purples. I think it's nice spacing on purple's ghouls. They don't all get targeted by the AoE of the
Yeah,
lightning shields. So he
yeah,
actually wins the wave. Oh, nah, never mind. He almost wins the wave because of it.
yeah. But most
But
importantly, he doesn't get lightning on. Well, it doesn't matter too much against hunts, but it's still nice that it doesn't get like lightning shit. And now the Crypt Lord gets
yeah.
XP, so it's not the worst. But you see some Dryads coming out to try and handle with the. But this Crypt Lord just get insta target. That is
Yeah.
that is probably the biggest reason that I don't like Huntresses. Is that if you have a melee hero and they just run in front,
Yep.
it's like
That's
so hard to get any XP in the early game.
that is
But I
true.
do see an Alchemist coming from red, one of my favorite heroes.
Very powerful hero. And also
Super,
good
super
into the
strong.
Crypt Lord. But he has
Yeah.
Banshees. And Banshees do kind of counter Alchemist.
Does it
If you
block
get
the
the
acid bomb?
it
Or
does, yeah.
oh, I
And
did not know
anti-magic
that.
shield does block the acid bomb.
Yeah, I did not know. I actually
And it's
thought it didn't.
also yeah, but the armor reduction into the Crypt Lord is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was mentioning or talking about the uh the huntresses. Like it feels so hard to play with hunts if you ever made a hero. Like trying to position so you don't get insta targeted with your hero
Yeah,
can be such a struggle.
for sure. Sometimes it's worth in those cases to buy a little bit of a tank item, like a gem of health, most likely. And
Yeah.
there are certain heroes like a Crypt Lord and an Alchemist that can work better because when they cast, like if you cast Healing Wave or if you cast Beetles, then they always stand still for a while and then they basically go back to the backline. And then,
But
the
also
hunts can take over again.
yeah. But also these
Overtake.
tries are just such a nice counter to everything that Orange has. Like he has spawns and he has huntresses.
Yeah.
So these huntresses counter pretty much everything in his tier 1.
Would definitely like to see a
And
hero on yellow side next.
yeah, I do want to say this is very nice positioning coming off blue, putting the Banshees all the way in the back because he knows that there are huntresses on yellow. So making
Yeah,
sure that they don't go in and suicide, which is very nice positioning to
very
point out.
big play.
Yeah, this is making the fight a lot closer than it would have been.
Yeah,
We
but
see an
Crypt Lord level 2
early
is big.
yeah, and we do see an early level 2 Ram Panda. I'm not sure what the ability is called.
Impale.
Impale,
Yeah,
which is very strong. It's
it's
very good.
strong. Into
Or it's
ghouls,
up. Yeah.
I would usually go for the spike carapace because the ghouls
Yeah.
just kill themselves by attacking the dreadlord. But yeah, Impale is a very strong spell.
Yeah.
But mana intensive, so I'm curious to see if blue gets a pendant of mana.
Yeah. We have seen it in previous games. But also we see this Mountain King.
Yeah.
His space stats are just super high.
And also a very nice pick into the Warden. He saw the Warden and Mountain King with the Stormbolt forces the Warden basically to build what's it called? One of the spell
The magic
the
shield.
spell shield. Exactly.
Yeah. And also we see a keeper coming off. You know, I actually think this is a decent pick because he is too busy casting. Or I guess he could toggle the lightning shields off, but it is still a very strong hero.
Yep. And I think now the Banshee positioning of blue doesn't matter because the Dryads just don't die fast enough. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll
I
see.
think it actually does may with the keeper.
Ah,
No,
because
but
of
it
the
do target
keeper,
the
obviously.
keeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yep, you're right.
it's still,
My
it
bad.
doesn't really matter. He's just making sure it doesn't go in the back.
We see the walkers coming out from red, which are very, very nice into the Banshees, getting rid of the magic anti-magic shell.
He doesn't have the disenchant upgrade.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. But
good point.
It's still a very strong hero.
And we see red winning his wave for the first time. Alchemist getting XP is always very nice. Such a strong hero.
Yeah. Some very early fairy dragons. But they
Yep,
don't
and
have
they
an
can't
answer
be killed.
for them. Yeah.
Always.
This could be very annoying if Yellow does not have anything for it. He does have oh wait, he does have Dryads and an archer and his keeper.
Yeah.
So he should be able to deal with it.
And they don't do much into yellow because he doesn't have any casters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
they are just dying. So the stack
nice
doesn't
play
really
by purple, but doesn't really do much in the long run. I would like to see a little bit of Pierce coming from orange to deal with the Dryads better. I mean, Huntress Mass is always good, but he's doing well.
I actually think it's not the worst to just go even more Huntresses.
Yeah,
Because
he's
I don't
doing well.
think that if you would go Pierce, that they would do that much as opposed to going more Huntresses.
Yep. I'm eating my own words.
But we do see level 3 coming off the Crypt Lord.
Yeah.
I feel like Crypt Lord is probably one of the only heroes where I see people split up all 3 abilities in the early game, but this doesn't seem that he has upgraded the spikes yet. So
yeah.
he is probably going for a full early game setup.
And he does run out of mana quickly this way, but he's still winning his wave, so it seems to be working. It's a very back and forth game. A very back and forth early game.
It is, but we also see the power of the Mountain King. The slam, the ground slam into the ghouls really does a lot. And a couple of priests for the Warden.
Which is very nice, yeah.
Yeah. It does help him stay alive in the early game.
And he actually got a Gem of Health on the Warden, which I actually really like. Because his frontline dies quite quickly to the Mountain King. And then the Warden does offer a little bit of a frontline in itself.
Yeah, and we do see a Druid coming out. I think a single Druid is super strong. But also, I am a strong believer of massing bears. If your opponent doesn't have a good answer into it, it can truly stomp.
Yep. And we see the reversal. This time, yellow has a fairy dragon, and orange can't deal with it.
Yeah.
So we have another little stack going on.
And this is actually quite huge because blue. Wait, no, he has rifleman.
He has 1 or 2 rifles, yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, and the Fairy Dragon already cast too early.
Yeah.
Little bit of a toggling mistake, but let's see if it matters. I like the Spellbreakers by blue into all the casters of red.
Yeah.
Very nice
I
addition.
definitely think it's a very good option to
Yeah.
go for here. And as I talked about, like I feel like Spellbreakers when you're ahead, they feel very hard to deal with.
Yep, and he has the Banshee Spellbreaker combination, which just scales very well into the late game. Because the opponent can't mass normal damage frontline units, most likely. So the Spellbreakers
And it's an
just offer a
early
lot.
Abomination coming out and getting
Oh, yeah.
the Priest and Bloodlust upgrade. This is so hard to deal, or it's not per se hard to deal with, but it just makes all of his units so much more tanky and powerful. I think these two buffs
Definitely.
are super strong.
Very curious to see what other tier 3 units Orange is going to pump out now, but
Yeah.
early tier 3 rush is always a little bit dangerous when you haven't killed the tower yet, because 450 gold investment it can backfire, but it seems like a calculated risk, and he still won his wave, so let's see if it pays off.
He did get an Orb of Fire on the Crypt Lord.
To deal with the Fairy Dragon, I guess.
Yeah, to deal with the Fairy.
Does I suppose Orange has Crypt Fiends then? Because otherwise just a single ranged unit would have been nice, like a single W.
But it could also be like an investment for the future, because he's probably going to need the orb at some point. And
That's
if
true.
he thinks it's like a good enough answer for the Fairy Dragon for now.
Yeah, and Crypt
gotta
Lord
make
is
sure
just
that it doesn't. Yeah.
Crypt Lord is just a very nice anti-air hero later on, because he has so much. He's just so tanky. He has so much armor.
Yeah, exactly. So you want to have the orb on him anyway later on.
Yep.
So it does make little sense for him to just go for it now.
Did anybody go second mine already? I'm curious.
We
Because
see an early Frostworm coming
with
off.
Bloodlust and Inner Fire.
And
Bloodlust
Inner Fire, yeah.
That is a very strong combo.
Not a single mine has been used yet.
I think blue could go second mine. He's so strong.
Yeah.
And he's into an alchemist, and if you're facing an alchemist, it's a ticking time bomb. He just generates so much gold once he hits level 6.
Yeah.
So if you can, it's always nice to get an early mine. But only if it's worth it. But like if it doesn't lose you middle control.
We see an Orb of Venom coming onto the Keeper.
Interesting.
It is an item I haven't really used too much. I've seen other people use it, and I've seen people speak both highly of it and like flamed it a bit.
Yeah. I'm not quite sure what the idea is behind it on a ranged hero. And he's mainly hitting the beetles of the Crypt Lord, so maybe it will pay off later on. I'm not quite sure.
We do see the Alchemist going pretty far into the front line and getting sniped off quickly, so he is not being able to cast his healing on the ghouls, which is going to be hard for him in the fight here.
A little trick you can do when you have to fight 2 waves is make sure you toggle the healing spray, so that when you are about to face the second wave, you heal spray so that the Alchemist doesn't run in front.
Yeah. But you also want to make sure that your healing does stay on your units and don't just run past it. So it's
that's true. But sometimes it's just more valuable to get more XP on the Alchemist, right?
Yeah, that is also true.
You just want him to stand in the back line no matter if you win or lose, because the XP is just so important.
But I feel like these first rims are also a ticking time bomb, because I do see Teal building more archers, but at some point the archers are not going to be enough for the Frostworms.
Exactly.
He is going to need a different counter for them.
And he doesn't really want to build his Mountain King as an anti-air hero here, because once he hits level 6, he will be immune to the Frostworm attacks, and then the Frostworms won't attack him anymore, so he won't tank for them.
Yeah.
So Mountain King, not always the best hero for anti-air, like at least if you're facing magic. Yeah.
And I do
damage
think
here.
that now the Orb of Fire actually does really nice on the Crypt Lord,
Yeah, but
collecting most of the impact from the gargoyles.
they are almost. No, they're barely holding the push. Maybe the keeper stacks here.
I would actually love to see what abilities that these Crypt Lords have, because this guy has not opted into the armor upgrade
Yeah,
yet.
very interesting.
So
But
I
the
would love to
medallion is very nice. The medallion offers mana
Yeah.
regeneration and some health and some damage.
Yeah. Do you
Very
think,
nice item.
would you go medallion over a pendant?
If I just have beetles and not impale, then yes. I usually always go one medallion on Crypt Lord, but I rarely skill impale until the late game. If you have both skills, I think a pendant is just a little bit better because
Okay.
it
So we
offers
do
a lot
see
more mana.
tanks coming out from teal. Like tanks are an answer to Frostworms, but it's not a hard counter because you
Yeah,
need so many of them, because these Frostworms are just going to be so tanky, especially with the priests.
yeah, that's very true. They are good. I mean, in an isolated scenario, the frost worms would lose to the tanks, but it's not an isolated scenario. They have
Yeah,
double buffs. They have double buffs, and they have purple just has a lot of other units hitting the
yeah,
tanks.
exactly. Like it is
So
like maybe later on it can work, but it's just so hard for him
yeah,
to deal with these Frostworms. And if tanks are his best option into him, it is going to be quite hard for the east side.
yeah. We finally see the tower going down.
I do see an
Um,
Griffin Rider, a unit that we don't normally see. I think it's a decent unit. It's not like a top tier unit, but it's definitely playable.
yeah,
And
it
he does
can be
have
very nice with Bloodlust
yeah,
and his AOE ability.
yeah,
The biggest downside to Griffins is usually that they lose air battles because the AOE only works on ground units. And the problem here, blue is basically magic immune with anti-magic shell and spellbreakers.
yeah.
They don't do
That is
much.
yeah. And we see a single Frostman coming out. But the problem here is that he only has Shamans for a buff. And right now, purple has both Bloodlust and Inner Fire.
Yeah,
So his Frostworms are going to lose the 1v1 battle. I think he's going to get targeted as well. And he is just stacking on more Abominations and more Frostworms.
yeah. I mean, the tanks are still nice just to take the aggro of
Yeah,
the
they
frostworms
do
to tank them a
tank a
bit.
lot.
But yeah, something like I mean, he has tanks, so he can't have hippo riders unless he has like archers and hippos. But something like hippos or gyros are very nice in a combination with tanks because the tanks would often tank the aggro and then the other
Oh,
air units can
I
just
think Orange had. I think he had the archers, or maybe. Can I check? Did
I
he
don't
make
think
these?
so. I'm not sure, but I don't. Didn't I say he should build archers or like W units and he didn't because he
Oh,
just
that might be true. Yeah,
massed
yeah, yeah, yeah,
hunts, which was
yeah, yeah, yeah.
a
He
good
went
play,
over
which was a good
fire.
play.
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
over fire.
but still, Hippo Rider is a very nice unit.
Yeah,
Also with Bloodlust.
but this alchemist is getting very close to tier to level 6.
Yep.
Maybe with the extra income, they might be able to slowly turn the game around.
Right side just needs to try to stall the
Yeah,
game out for a little bit
they're still
longer.
building in front. It works out here, but I do think that they should maybe start considering building in the back, making sure that they use the fortress as much as possible.
Yeah, it's a bit risky at this stage of the game. It's already 20 minutes in, and if you don't calculate it properly, it can lead to a lot of base damage.
That is true. It's a
But
very fine
yeah,
line that you have to make sure you don't
in those
pass.
situations, it's always important that you, if you need to, if necessary, put one ranged and one melee unit in front
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that they
exactly.
tank
To draw the
aggro.
aggro. Yeah,
Yeah. A
we do
little bit of
see
a
it.
stack here.
Yeah.
It doesn't look too strong because orange is just purple is just very powerful. But the statue of teal.
Yeah, and also it's a level 6 keeper. If
Ooh, that's
he
true.
can somehow, I don't think he'll be able to stay alive here. Yeah, he has to use it here. He cannot wait for red. It's just too far away. But there is stack potential on both teams. And also, as you mentioned, the Alchemist is kind of a ticking time bomb. And he is going to get his level 6 now.
Yep. If they can stack for if they can draw the game out for 10 more minutes, the Alchemist might have farmed enough gold. But we will see. Right now it's 10 seconds.
They're
of base
taking a
damage.
lot of base damage here.
Yeah.
Hyperriders with the Blood Dust. Ticking on the fortress.
And the Dreadlord second hero for blue, very, very strong. Second hero, Shadowhunter for teal, also good. But less good if you're defending, because
I
you can't always...
agree that the Dreadlord is a strong hero, just because he's Dreadlord, but I do feel like he is opting very much into anti-magic with the Spellbreakers, and opting into even more anti-magic is... like, it might just be so good that it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, there's an argument, like, blue has a lot of ranged units, so the aura is not that good and stuff. But I think
but
Dreadlord
misses.
and Infernal is just so overpowered at the moment that you can always just pick it in almost any scenario.
It's just such a strong hero that even if you don't have any good melee units, or you don't, like, you already have so much anti-magic and forcing the enemy to go normal or pierce, that it doesn't matter because it's just such a strong hero. But this might actually be the game.
Yeah.
Super well played, both teams. Very hard
Another...
to 2-0.
Yeah.
Another 2-0 for the final.
Damn. Wait,
And
this was already the second game? That went
this
over
was
so quick.
already the second game.
Congratulations to...
But it has been such an amazing tournament.
Yeah. What is their name?
I just want to thanks to all of the participants. It was... let me get the player list up here.
Sons of Grimnir win the tournament.
Sons of Grimnir. With Droog, Eckhold, and who's the last?
Arixu.
Arixu.
Yeah.
Congratulations on being the weekly tournament winners. And the first tournament winners in the new format here.
Beautiful.
Do you have anything to add, Pooh?
That's it. We're super excited though to keep doing this. This is the first week, so I think it went pretty well. The games were great. Every single game was 2-0, so that's hilarious. Or the series, anyways.
I mean, undefeated run is very impressive. Especially this team. I mean, they're all good players. At least I know a few of them. But they are some of the newer players in this community, and it's very nice to see them win this tournament.
That was very fun. Thanks for casting Talks or Neocomplex and Bre. You guys obviously know a lot about the game. It was super fun to watch.
Such a treat to be here.
Yeah, very enjoyable to watch and to cast.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, yep.
Wait, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Are we sure about who won?
Yeah. Wait. Did I? What is it? Was it the other team?
I think it might have been the other team.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Okay, boys.
Yeah.
We're back on it.
Wait.
1-1.
No, but we need to make it easier to check names. Like I had.
No.
Like it was so hard to figure out who is who.
Wait, am I just stupid? But it was still a 2-0, right? It was still a 2-0.
Right?
But it was...
Do we have an extra game? I don't even know what's happening.
The names are confusing.
Do we need to check?
Yeah.
How did we miss this?
Do we have like an admin? Like, is it 2-0? Who won? We're just casting. We don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, we didn't watch the games. Oh yeah, and it's just that I just mixed up the teams.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
So it's
Potato of Doom
Doom,
1-0.
Hard, and Aspecto. Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. A super nice
Very
run,
good.
going undefeated throughout the whole tournament.
Yeah.
And
Still a
also
very
playing,
impressive showing by the other team.
Yeah. And also playing against some very good teams, like we were talking about there. I think weren't those the people we watched in the first game? Or is that a different team?
No, I think that was a
No,
different
that
team.
was okay. No, man.
Yeah.
Never mind then. But it did 2-0 the team that we watched, right?
Yeah, they did. They 2-0'd on the semifinals, and we watched them.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today. That was awesome, and we're gonna be back next week, same time, same rules, same place. It's either we'll have to confirm if it's this week or next week. We might be doing it twice a month or 4 times a month. I'm not sure if it's weekly or bi-weekly, but we're gonna decide. We'll talk to the team and figure out what we want to do. And today was great, and we're going to raid our friend Easter Bunny on Twitch. So if you want to keep watching, you can just stick around, and we're going to be heading over there.
Nice. Thanks for having me, guys. It was
No
very
problem.
fun.
Yep. Thank you so much for casting. It was very nice.
Yep, I enjoyed it.